Hello and welcome to SkepTalk, the show where skeptics talk, and that's all it ever is or ever will be. I'm your host, Forrest Valkai, and joining me today is the beautiful and remarkable Jesse Jerdak. How are you, my friend?
I'm better now after that intro. My goodness, you set the bar a little high. It's going to be hard to live up to that.
No, it's great. You're going to do fantastically. There's no amount of insane pressure that you can't handle. This is going to be the best show that I've ever had or been a part of because you're here. We're going to go longer and talk harder and learn more stuff. And I know that you know that anything less than that absolute perfection would be an insult not only to me and also our audience. And so I know that that's something that you're comfortable with and that you won't be nervous or worried about that at all. And that's why I'm so happy to have you here for this, the greatest show that we have ever done with Jesse Jerdak.
Buckle up, folks. It's going to be a hell of a show.
It's going to be great. It's been a crazy time for me personally. I've been all over the place. I've been traveling a whole bunch. I've been violently ill for a little while. I look like this. So sorry about that. But it's been a crazy time, and now this show has just been something I've been looking forward to for a little while to kind of get back into the swing of doing stuff. Mainly because you and I have got a really cool project coming out pretty soon that we just finished working on. Yeah, it's pretty freaking awesome. For those who don't know, tell them, because I've told them several times.
Okay, I will tell them. I'll tell them with my words instead of yours. So Forrest and I are nerds. Forrest is a biology nerd, and I'm more of just a general Swiss Army knife nerd. Just all kinds of nerdy shit. And we got together last year, about a little over a year ago, and we did a little charity D&D game, and it was fun, and we did great. We killed it. Knocked it out of the park, if I do say so myself. And Forrest called me, maybe 7 months ago?
Something like that.
Yeah,
almost exactly a year ago now, actually. Think about it, because I was coming back from that paleo dig. So it was a little longer than that.
And Forrest was like, "Hey, let's do it again." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, let's go." And the only reason why I was like, "Ugh," is because I knew I wanted to go so hard and just put my whole ass into this. And I did. I done put the whole ass in there. And so we made just the coolest show, I swear. And I lean humble and self-effacing. So when I allow myself the space to say we made the coolest show, we really did, and Forrest Valkai knocked it out of the park. It's going to be super entertaining. We are playing a tabletop game called Tales of the Valiant, which is very similar to Dungeons and Dragons, and it's very visually interesting. I don't know how much I can give away there, Mr. Forrest.
I don't think it's. I can say confidently, without spoiling anything, that we. I have been told by several people in the crew who are on bigger productions than I've ever been on that we accomplished some things that no other show has ever done. Like no other TTRPG actual play has ever accomplished. And it is all because I was far and away the least talented person in the room the entire time. The level of freaking enormity of just the shape and the size and the weight of the shadow that I am in under with this, because you've got Jesse there just rocking it, and we have just this all-star cast of people playing it, and then we've got these amazing a sound crew and an amazing camera crew and an amazing set builders and amazing designers and amazing I cannot stress enough just how unbelievably cool this project was to produce. Jesse, one of the reasons I was so close to being late for this show is because I was right in the middle of doing something really cool with editing that I'm excited to show you once this is done. Because it's a great thing. It's a great thing. You guys are going to like it. And we're raising money for Doctors Without Borders, which is an amazing organization that's helping people all around the world. So if you're into charity and you're into saving lives and all of it, and if you're into tabletop gaming and you're into fucking huge doing nerdgular nerdance for like a solid 30 hours, we've got like 14 or so episodes of greatness for you to watch. And it'll be coming out starting in June. So stay tuned. Make sure to subscribe to both my and Jesse's channels for that. We'll link both of those in the chat. The videos will go up on my channel, and Jesse's going to be having a bunch of other stuff between now and then as well. Dude's a fabulous DM and TTRPG type guy. So if you're into any of those things, please check it out.
I don't think you oversold it. I think you sold it the appropriate amount. You undersold your own talents there, my friend.
I disagree. I strongly disagree. Oh. But I appreciate it. It's very kind of you. Can we... go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, my mic was coming through a little hot. I'm hoping that it is better now.
You said what?
My mic was coming through a little hot and clippy is my understanding. I don't know if I need to adjust that. Anyway, that doesn't make for good viewing. What were you going to say?
It's fine. It's fine. No, I'm typing into the thing with the producer at the same moment because like it's coming weird for me, but like the production side said it sounded great. We'll see. It's fine. With that, we've got a lot of things today that I wanted to get into. Lines are open as always for theists, for creationists, for transphobes, for anybody who wants to call in and say some dumb shit at us. We're not terribly confrontational. We're genuinely nice guys. Jesse is the nicest man I've ever met, and I'm just adorable. Look at
you are adorable.
And so you got
you. Look at that.
Thank you. It wasn't on purpose, and then it kind of started to become so. I'm just look like a scruffy man. You bring in that scruffy nerd energy for you, the audience. We're going to jump right in though. We've got a call here from Jay, calling in from Georgia. Pronouns he/it. He's got on there. Who's an atheist who attends private Christian school and says that they're misrepresenting ecology and different outlooks. So we're going to see what Jay has to say. And hopefully we'll get some theist callers as well, because I would love to hear your takes on some things. I know you've got some unique perspectives that I want to dig into. Jay, you are on SkepTalk. How are you doing today?
Hi, Jay.
Hello. I'm doing all right. How are y'all?
Really good.
So good.
Really good.
Okay. So, at my school, because I wasn't planning on calling in this week, but then earlier today, my worldview teacher started saying some stuff that I really disagree with, well, kind of in a way. I'm not sure. The way that he phrased some stuff was very interesting to me, and I wanted to make sure that I'm not crazy for thinking that he's what he said was kind of weird. So what? When you hear the
I find
phrase
it interesting that you have a class called worldview. That's intense.
Yeah, but when you hear the phrase deep ecology, what is it like? What is your definition for that?
I wouldn't. Let me double check really quick to make sure I'm not stupid. Deep ecology. Okay. Yeah. So there's a reason why I hadn't heard of this before. Deep ecology is the environmental philosophy that promotes the inherent worth of all living beings, regardless of their instrumental utility to human needs, and the restructuring of human societies in accordance with such ideas. So I have heard of this concept. I have never heard of the words deep ecology like that. When I was doing my first master's, we did talk about this quite a bit when we talked especially about concepts of personhood, about human environmental interactions, about deconstructing dualities of culture versus nature. Like these concepts came up. I've never heard the term deep ecology before today. So thank you for telling me that's a word that exists. I didn't know that. But this concept is something that I am familiar with. And so if I'm interested to hear what your teacher was talking about with this.
Yeah, because we're going over, in our worldview class, we're going over, there's like 6 worldviews that they say that they are, and one of them is new spirituality, quote unquote, which is like
There's
amalgamation
only
of
6
different
worldviews in the world, so it's good you're covering all of them.
Yeah. There's only 6 of them. But
Yep, that's
in
it.
this one they brought up the concept of deep ecology, which my teacher defined as like the idea that all living things should have legal rights, and like he described it as like quote unquote follow the money. And if somebody cuts down a tree, this lets somebody else sue them to make money because it gives them like a legal case.
So your teacher has decided what they think about this, and then they're telling you, yeah. So this is not a new concept at all. In fact, this is only becoming something that people are talking about more as we are starting to read into other cultures. So especially, there's a really great book that I've recommended on this channel before, and that I'll recommend again and again until the day I die. And I don't have a copy nearby, but it's called Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer, I think. And she is a Potawatomi woman. She is a Native American, and she is also a biologist. And she, over the course of the book, is explaining like her philosophy as a biologist, as a scientist, seeing the world, and then intermingling that with her philosophies and worldviews as a Native American woman. Especially, she tells the story as like she's going back and rediscovering the past and like learning more about her own culture, and like, you know, rediscovering her culture and her language and like all these things. And there's one really poignant chapter near the, I think it's near the first half of the book, where they're talking about the language of personhood. And that chapter is actually something that I had to read for an arc theory class. That's how I found the book, because the concept of this was to like help us understand things like linguistic relativism. The way that we use language shapes the way that we see the world, and the way that we see the world changes the way that we behave in the world. And so she's talking about how she's going back and relearning, you know, this Potawatomi language, and there's this one word that she jumps out to because she's having this hard time trying to figure out the words don't really match to English one-to-one, you know what I mean? And there's a word, to be a bay is the definition of this word. It's a verb which means to be a bay. And she's like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. How do you be a bay? It either something's a bay or it isn't. And like, I don't get what that means. What does it mean to be a thing? And she said she kind of had this like lightning strike in her brain. Just all of a sudden she got it. Like, when you think about a bay, the water doesn't have to be there. It's flowing in and out all the time, but it happens to currently be at that place. The plants around the area that are, you know, making up the structure of the shoreline, those are there at that time. And if they weren't, it would be different. And like the shape of the earth and the shape of the water and the shape of the ecosystem all are actively doing a thing. They are being a bay. A bay isn't just a stagnant thing. It's an active living thing made of a lot of moving parts that are currently doing the job of being a bay. And she takes that and then applies it to everything else. And she says, when I see a tree and I say it's growing over there, I've stripped that tree of its personhood. And, you know, as silly as it might sound at face value to say, well, the tree is a person, the tree is alive. And the tree does have just as much right as any other living thing to live and to be there, which is all of the rights and none of the rights at the same time, because those are made up concepts anyway. And so instead, she has taken the practice with herself and her students to say, okay, look, here's this squirrel climbing the tree. What are they doing? And when they climb the tree, what, you know, referring to the tree as a they as well, taking that that impersonal language potentially out, because, you know, whichever one you use, it's a very often it is a dehumanizing. You're talking about an object, not something that's alive. If I'm talking about a dog, you know, very likely I'm not going to use a word like it, because we see the minds of dogs and we care about dogs and their well-being and blah blah blah. So do the same thing for everybody else, every other living thing. And so we talk about things like deep ecology. that's kind of where we got with that in my research, was do the hard work to deconstruct that duality in your head between culture and nature. Humans are part of nature as well. Our culture, even our material culture, like the things that we build, are part of our nature, are a part of the natural world as well. We have an impact on the world around us, on the natural world around us all the time. And everything else, from the smallest amoeba to the greatest blue whale to anything in between, has just as much right to live as you do, and has, is a person, so to speak. They have their own being, their own conscious, or maybe not even conscious, but like their own life that matters, that's there. As far as like suing somebody over cutting down a tree, that sounds like a straw man among straw men. But like, yeah, that's what the concept actually boils down to, as far as I can tell. And I'm sure there's somebody out there that's into the actual philosophy that's like super into it. But I've been talking for like 5 solid minutes about some shit from grad school. So like, does that answer your question at all? And Jesse, do you have anything else to add to it?
You touched on it earlier. It sounds like the information was presented with a little bit of bias. Am I reading that right, Jay?
Yeah. Also, I've been sitting on a joke ever since Forrest said it, but I'm sorry, I had to get that out of my system really quick.
Mana.
But yeah, that it was presented with a lot of bias.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to, like, what's frustrating about this, you're talking about a worldview class, and if that's the caliber at which they're willing to present a worldview, put class in quotation marks. Personally, I think it would be really cool to do a class, and there's no ethical way for me to do this, so I won't. But I want to. I want to do a class titled like "The Class Fox News Warned You About." You know what I mean? And it would be that. It would be a worldview class where we actually covered all the worldviews that your worldview class doesn't want you to be exposed to. We'd talk about anarchism and Marxism and socialism and communism and feminism and critical race theory and evolution and all sorts of things. And like, actually, I wanted to do that so bad for so long, and I can't, because there's no, like I said, there is no ethical way for that to happen. Because I would not represent capitalism very well. So, like, yeah. We'd have to have different teachers.
Are you going to do a unit on Marxism? Because there was a unit on Marxism in my worldview class. And it was certainly something. As myself, who isn't like very far left leaning, it was certainly an experience.
Marxism is when the government takes your babies. Yeah, that's what it is.
Socialism is when the government does stuff, and when it does a lot of stuff, it's communism.
That is exactly right. You learned it here first, folks.
But also in that class, something that my teacher kept bringing up is how, like, all of these worldviews that aren't Christian are, like, quote unquote works-based, which is like, rather than faith-based. So, like, you have to do stuff in order to achieve salvation. And it's basically like, I think that, because what I've heard a lot of on the shows that you, Forrest, have appeared on the line recently is a lot of stuff about climate change and how like far right or like more fundamentalist Christian people aren't like as willing to do stuff about climate change. And I think that this like mentality kind of feeds into that, like works-based versus faith-based. Do they think that like works-based stuff, like working for the betterment of everybody else rather than just believing that it will get better, like actually putting effort into doing something about it, is like, they think that that's like a bad thing. And I don't know, it's just interesting to me. Do y'all have any thoughts on that?
I do. The actual terminology in actual philosophy circles, I'm not a philosopher, but I know a few. And like the actual way people talk about that is to say whether something is idealist or materialist. And Marxism is definitely a materialist philosophy. It's talking about real human beings on the ground with real tools and real jobs and real struggles and real problems. And um, a lot of the Enlightenment that brought about like the American Revolution and the French Revolutions and everything were very much idealistic. They're very much like, we want liberty and fraternity and equality. And the foundations of Marxism were saying, okay, you guys did the revolution. Where the hell is the freedom and equality? I thought that was the point. Why are we like just as stratified as before? Only we no longer have a lord and a serf. Now we have a boss and an employee, and it's the same shit. And people are struggling the same way, and people are starving the same way, and nobody's happy, and it's the same stratification, and we still have an aristocracy. What's going on? And so it was trying to get actual problems solved in the actual world. And especially as a scientist, very much a materialist, because if I can't measure an idea, why that's not for me. But to say that this is something that's less valuable is as silly as me saying that ideas aren't valuable. Of course ideas are valuable, and of course having an idealistic worldview is valuable. I'm very idealistic in a lot of things, especially about my philosophy, and not in my job, but like, my fucking hero is Don Quixote, dude. Find me a more idealistic person. That guy has shaped who I want to be as a human. So like, I don't know, man. Jesse, do you have a particular thing you think between the difference between faiths and works and stuffs? You probably are more familiar with that terminology than I would be.
I am, yeah. Well, I don't know if I can't say that I'm more familiar than you, but I can say I'm familiar. I did notice that, Jay, you mentioned that the teacher presented that people that are more conservative leaning in their thought processes and less progressive tend to be far less interested in like environmental sustainability and things like that. Now, I think growing up in the church, a lot of that came, at least from my perspective, from this. This is going to sound like I'm just shitting down somebody's barrel, and I'm not trying to do that. But this legendary short-sightedness that you find in a lot of faith-based communities, where it's like, don't worry, God's just gonna kill us all in a few years, or God's gonna rapture us all, or God can just make it right. And I find that you run into that a lot in those particular circles where you're waiting for some deity to right all of the wrongs that we could be just fixing as we go.
Yeah, and that really it creates impotence. You know what I mean? It's like I was just on AXP yesterday, and we're talking about this guy who had deconstructed so much of his faith. He had, it was the same story we'd heard a million times. I was looking for reasons to not believe in evolution, and all I found were evidences for evolution. And then I turned my sights to old Earth, and I was like, well, I'm going to prove the young Earth. And then all I found was all this old Earth stuff. And they had really just come up to the forefront. They started talking about hell, and they were like, okay, actually, I can't believe this. I cannot believe in a hell. That doesn't work. And they were right up to like the cutting edge of just completely abandoning their faith. And they said, at the end of the day, I have to hold on to this hope that there's something more, and that God's going to be there for me, and that it's going to change. And he even said, I don't have a reason to believe it anymore, but I have this hope. And that's the thing, man, is that hope is a prison. And that's what that kind of the faith-based worldview, to steal these words and use them probably erroneously, is like that's the what I see is this gilded cage of saying, if you just hold out hope all the time, then God will fix it and God will make it better. And he has magic powers. You can do this, that, and the other. And like, at the end of the day, while you're waiting, you're dying. The planet around you is dying. Ecosystems are dying. Children are dying. Theoretical children in the future are suffering because of your actions today. Because the idea that we inherit the earth from our elders is bullshit. We borrow the earth from the future generations. And so you're hurting them while you're waiting on Sky Daddy to fucking fix it. And so, like, yeah, that for me is the damnable misery of what your teacher is passing along to you. Does that satisfy what you're calling for, or like, did we miss a thing, or like?
No, I think that satisfies it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, Jay, I wish you all the best of luck in school, man. Like, seriously, I hope you keep studying, keep your nose to the grindstone, and find other books if your school isn't offering anything good. Libre texts, yo. Get on the Googly right now. I'll put it in. Here we go. Bio. So it's bio.libre libre texts texts.org. So biolibretext.org. I'll put this in the chat right now so everybody can see it as well. These Libre texts are online textbooks, and they're great. When I was getting my first couple of degrees at TCC, literally a lot of the classes, that would just be the only textbook for that college because they're free and they're very good and anybody can have access to them. And it was better than asking students to buy a new textbook every semester. So yeah, Bio Libre text, there's a Chemistry Libre text, there's Physics Libre text, and they are very easy to read. They're very short little articles. It's like Wikipedia for biology. It's really great. So dig up into that if your teacher is new. I don't know of any like Marxist Libre texts, but I can suggest a few good papers. Yeah, it's just if you're interested in different worldviews, I would strongly recommend digging into things like post-processual archaeological theory, which is a huge school of various different schools of thoughts about how the world works and how people live in it. And you learn how to think like other people think, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I want to just encourage you, Jay, to keep asking those questions because you are so far ahead of where I was at your age. And I have so much respect and admiration for somebody that's brave enough to confront these ideas head on, especially in as a youth. I'm a wizened old man now, and I think I am envious of your courage. So just keep pushing, man.
For sure.
Thank you.
Have an awesome rest of your day, Jay.
Thank you. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. As always, what a nice dude. As always, lines are open for theists. We've got a couple of theists on the line right now that we'll jump into here in a second. But if you're a theist or a creationist, or if you're curious about atheism, or if you want to learn more about the way we think or what we do, didn't throw up though. You can call in right now at 720-618-2288. Or there should be a digital call-in link around here somewhere. But with that, we touched on this just a little bit ago when we were talking about the person who's deconstructing their faith. And I think this would be a really great one to talk to, especially with somebody like you, Jesse, who's been through a path of deconstruction on your own. We've got Patrick, pronouns he, him, calling in from Scrotal Contusion, or maybe South Carolina. He's a theist who says that he is scared to be an atheist and has some examples as to why, and is asking for our help. Patrick, you are on SkepTalk. How are you doing?
Hey, Patrick.
Hey, hey, Forrest. Hey, Jess. Your name's Jess.
You can call me Jesse. Just don't call me late for breakfast.
Yeah.
So weird.
First, I want to tell everyone to subscribe.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. First, I want to tell everyone to subscribe.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you.
Yeah, but thank you, Forrest, because you're a big part of me. Thank you for your like to evolution theory.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, I never learned about evolution, and the only thing I been taught about it was completely wrong. and when I figured out what it actually was, I was just like, I couldn't refuse it. I was like, well, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. And so,
So that was a lot.
yeah, but but I wanted to get to my point that I got on the line a few probably a few weeks ago or a month ago, and I got into the callers, they asked me a very simple question that which was, why do you still believe in this? And I was like, and I couldn't answer the question because I hadn't really thought too much about it. And then even though it's like literally the simplest question that I that was literally the question I was supposed to be trying to answer. And but and so like it got when I got off the call, I started writing down. I wrote down two examples. Why do I believe, and why and then another one where why am I scared? Am I scared to be an atheist? And so like and I found out that I am found more reasons to be scared of it than to believe, than reasons to believe. And it was confusing to me, and it would be kind of, it's weird to me because I'm like, well, what does this mean?
It means you've discovered that your religion is based on fear, and that they use fear as control. And now that you've run out of reasons to believe in the thing, and any other situation ever, if you didn't have a good reason to believe a thing, you just wouldn't believe it. Because of the way your religion is structured, you're defaulting back to, well, I don't want to be tortured, or whatever else it is. Or you haven't told me your reasons. I don't want to put word in your mouth, but like that, it sounds like what they've given you is a lot of reasons to be more afraid of not believing than actually caring whether or not there's a reason to believe the thing. Is that fair to say?
Primarily the things that I'm scared of, it's not like, for example, like it's not hell. Like I feel like hell is like, when I really thought about it, it just doesn't make sense because it's just like the way it works. And so like you can't like, for example, like I make the example that like you put everyone in a line and and judge them by what they like, the bad things and the good things. You would have at least two people that, like, one person is just like, they didn't go to hell by just one thing that they didn't do or did do, and then the other, and one person that did like one thing that they did do or didn't do that sent them that, and it just doesn't make sense. Like, you can't do that.
So, if you don't mind me asking, Patrick, what is your specific fear about kind of embracing just this line of thought? Maybe not even saying, "Hey, I'm an atheist now," but like, what is the specific fear? Because if it's not hell, is it just like a social pressure? Because I know for me that was really hard. I basically had to walk away from my entire support structure. My family was deeply religious. My friends were deeply religious. I was working in the church, and when I walked away from all of that, I lost just everything. Is that kind of what you're afraid of, or is there something else going on?
That is one of the fears. Like, that's probably the number. Like the list is like, I have like six things on the why I'm scared, and then I have three things for why I believe, and like two of them they're not really. I feel like they're really bad. Like one is faith and one is personal experience, and I know those don't work. But the whole goal was to write down what I like anything, as long and even if I could dispute it. So, but the ones that I'm scared of is my family and friends might hate me. I recently told one of my friends, my best friend, that I'm deconstructing, I don't really know. And like he was like, like if anybody else leaves you, you still got me. So
Well, that's sweet.
and
Well,
so
like, here's the thing, and
you know
if there's lots of people, so like there's people that I don't talk about atheism with. Is on my wife's side of the family, there are people there that don't know that I'm an atheist because they're old and they like me and they would be very sad. And the best thing that could possibly happen if they found out is that an old woman would be sad. That's the best case scenario. And why would I want that? It's not going to change anything. It's not going to make our relationship any better. They're just going to be sad. So they don't know, and it's fine. Even they don't know that I do this for a living. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And that's fine. So like if it is safe and useful for you to come out as an atheist to your family and friends, then that's awesome. But sometimes it might not be. And if you're in a situation where you're genuinely afraid of losing a loved one, then maybe keep it to yourself for at least as long as it takes for you to really thoroughly, thoughtfully explore it and figure it out. Because the worst thing that could happen is that you open up to them about this, they pressure you by using their love as a weapon, or maybe they're actually just genuinely scared for your soul because they believe in souls. And they could be a very compassionate thing, and they're very upset. And you, being a human being, are worried about them being upset, and so you default back to your religious belief, and now it's going to be more difficult next time when you start exploring this and questioning it again. So maybe this is something that you really do need to take on, if not entirely by yourself. You've got us. You can call into these shows as much as you want. This might be something you need to really sort out before you're ready to have that conversation, so that way, when you get there, if you get there, you're prepared to say, listen, I love you very much and I accept you who you are, and you've been nothing but kind to me my whole life, and you've raised me in this way and you supported me in these ways. I'm different now, and here's these reasons. And I love you enough to stick with you despite our differences. I hope you can return the same courtesy to me. And if not, then that's something we need to talk about. And at the end of the day, if somebody is going to leave your life because of a difference of religion, if you ask me, I wouldn't want to have that person in my life anyway, no matter who they are. But that's just me. Maybe you have a different set of values. I've cut out family members before, and I'm fine with that. So it's just that I'm not going to encourage anybody to do that flippantly. You know what I mean? Jesse, you were saying something.
Yeah, I just wanted to, having walked almost the same path. Patrick, do you mind if I ask what church denomination you are? Not that it really matters, but it kind of helps some context sometimes.
I don't think I am a specific denomination. Like I don't really know because I haven't asked my family. I grew up, primarily what I grew on was that like I just mainly believe in the Bible through faith. And that's really it. So then I never really read the Bible a lot. So
let me just offer you a little bit of words of encouragement for somebody that's on the other side of this. When I deconverted, initially it was painful, but then this really great thing started happening as I kind of took a stand as the man that my family and my friends always knew that I was, because I've always tried to prioritize kindness and authenticity and generosity in my entire life. I started seeing a ripple effect where it was my daughter and then my niece also deconverted. And then my friends started deconverting. And sometimes it just takes somebody to kind of tip over that first domino, and you start seeing people that are questioning these things. And perhaps they're in situations that, a lot of times religious groups, not always, of course, but most of the time, religious groups can have some very toxic practices that they put people through. And now I'm on the far side of this. I deconverted about 15 years ago, and my best friend from growing up just deconverted, and it is the coolest thing, because for a while there was a little bit of contention there, and he had kind of fallen out of my life. We still loved each other. I told him I loved him all the time, um, but now he is taking those first steps, and I'm able to be a support for him, and I'm able to kind of help talk him through these things, and not in like a angry atheist way, because I had my angry atheist phase, but now I can just kind of love him through this, and it is so nice to have taken that step and to become a resource for people that are starting to question these things. Um, I think you can be that for your loved ones too, Patrick. I believe in you, man.
And like primarily the ones that I'm struggling on is like this is one of the ones that I have. Why do I believe still? Like one of the actual strongest one I feel is I don't have a lot of knowledge of the Bible, that being the Bible itself, and historical knowledge.
I would say if you're questioning these things, study the Bible. I was thinking about this on the way home from work today. Part of my deconstruction process was studying the Bible. Part of my deconstruction process was reading the works of G.K. Chesterton. I don't know if you've heard of G.K. Chesterton or not, but he wrote a book called Orthodoxy and a bunch of other like apologetics books. And he's also a fictitious author. He does a lot of literary stuff. And reading his works really didn't jive with me, because I'm like, this is a logical fallacy. These are just syllogisms. These are just idioms. And so me as an atheist, I don't really have a dog in this fight, other than I want you to live your most authentic and happiest life, free from the burdens of dogma and religious trauma. But I do want you to, I guess I'm not worried about you reading the Bible, because I don't think that'll change your mind.
No, it's changed my mind about a lot of things.
Yeah.
I recommend checking out if you're interested if you're interested in studying the Bible and kind of seeing it from a different perspective. Hannah and Jake here on them YouTubes have an amazing atheist Bible study series. And I went through it. I've shown my Bible several times. My Bible is full of highlighters and writing in all the margins and everything. Like, because I went through their Bible study and then like several others, and like listened to differences and would mark things and like put in here like, oh, this doesn't make any goddamn sense. This chapter and this other thing says something totally different. Why would God do this? Highlight that. This is stupid. And so like I put, and you notice things like 40 days and 40 nights. It says that over and over and over and over in the Old Testament. Like, they went to the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. They lived in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. And like, when you do a little Bible study, you learn that actually is just kind of like it's a phrase. It's just a phrase that you would say that meant a long damn time. They fucked off for several days. They were gone for 40 days and 40 nights. And that's just a thing that you could say. And so like, you learn to take things a little bit less seriously when it says that, and you like kind of figure out what things actually mean in some context. Like, those are incredibly important things to do. There's a lot of great resources out there for getting into this, even from an atheistic perspective. And for somebody who doesn't believe this, what is it? I would recommend studying the Bible as literature as well, if you have the free time, because a huge amount of Western literature and Western movies and when I say Western, I mean, everything Europe and North America, a huge amount of it is influenced by the Bible in some way or another. Even today, if you find a video game today with a super self-sacrificing character that gives his life for everybody else, the character's probably named something Shepherd or has the initials JC. Probably gonna happen. Not always, but like a lot of times that happens. And like, you'll find a lot of, this Christian mythology ingrained into a lot of cultural things that we do. So like, seeing those threads and seeing, when you start to recognize those threads, you start to recognize, oh, this is why I feel this way when I do these things, because this was designed to pull up my heartstrings and has been several thousand years in the making. Like, you know what I mean? Like, So yeah, dude, the resources are out there. And if you're willing to ask these questions, then ask more. And if you're finding things that you're afraid of, then ask yourself, what's more important to you? Is it better to know a scary thing than to not know something? For me, I'd rather know a scary truth, even if that scary truth is you're on your own in this universe, and there's nobody pulling the strings, there's nobody in control, and you don't go anywhere when you die. And that's a very, very scary idea. But it appears to be true. So is it more important to know it or to be afraid of it and to not know it? That's what I would say.
Yeah. And like one last question is sure. And this is one of the ones that is on my scary, like why I'm scared to be an atheist list is I'm not sure how to tell if any sources are reliable or good and true. Or, yeah.
You mean like scientific sources, or just like sources on like just any old thing?
Yeah, like if I like look something up and I'll I'll see a lot of people throw things out. And I don't really know exactly if like how to tell if the source is true.
Yeah. Hold on a second.
Forrest is doing forest researches.
Well, I'm pulling up a thing, an easy study guide thing. So here is, I'm just going to put this in the chat. This took me 1 second, so I haven't reviewed this, but like it looks like the same kind of shit that I had to read in college. This is from Purdue University. It's just a guideline, general guidelines on evaluating sources. And it goes through determining who's writing it, what's the intended audience, how to figure out if this is, propaganda or not. Looking for language. What's the key language that they're using? Why are they using the language that they're using? Were these, detainees, or were they hostages, or were they victims, or were they terrorists, or were they, you know what I mean? How are you phrasing the exact same story? Evaluating evidence, cross-checking information, looking for the timeliness of the source, and examining references. This is very much high school level written, this one. But I would also check out Stony Brook University. So this is Stony Brook University has this search engine, which I'll also put in here. There's a little search engine for scientific journals. And anybody, if you see, because anybody can publish a damn journal. There's a journal for the Institute of Creationist Research and shit. You can plug that journal into this search engine and see if it's peer reviewed or not, see if it's accurate or not, see if it's trustworthy or not, and then you'll know whether or not you want to actually read what they're saying. So if you want to learn a thing about science or about culture or about whatever it may be, hit up Google Scholar, scholar.google.com. It's a search engine for scholarly articles. And there's a lot of shit on there that's nonsense too, because it's a fucking search engine. And it's going to pull up books written by absolutely anybody about anything. And if you find something you think is interesting and you want to raise an eyebrow at, double check with the Purdue University link to make sure that it's an actual journal that you should be paying attention to. And then also go through the steps of actually checking the sources and checking the references and vetting the information and asking who's writing this and why. That's all very important.
Purdue University and Stony Brook University.
Yeah, Purdue University and Stony Brook University. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, man. We're gonna move on though, but call us back in a little while and tell us how it's going. All right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Forrest. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. I just realized as I turned my head, I've still got the bleaching cream on my face. So I've got like this grossness here. Looks like got sploot on me. So I've got these scars on the side of my face here, and they're like dark purple, and I wanted to get rid of those because it's just hyperpigmentation from scarring, and so I put bleaching cream because I need to get whiter, right? On there, and that actually irritates the skin. So now instead of being deep purple, they're like big bright red coins, which fortunately the light's kind of washing that out, but it's still just this white gunk on me. I look silly.
You look fine.
We've
No
got a
one
bunch of
noticed
other
until now.
calls. Oh, thank you. We've got a bunch of other calls on the line that I want to get to, but really quick before we do, I just want to reiterate that Jesse and I are doing some really cool things, and if you want to see those really cool things, you should definitely subscribe to both of our channels because we've made some cool things happen, and we made an interesting project. And if you like DTRPG gaming and you like helping people all around the world, you'll enjoy what we've produced. It's a good time.
If you like giant men making funny voices,
I do like that. We've got a few other folks on the line. As always, we're going to prioritize theist calls. So sorry if you've been waiting for a little while and an atheist, but if more theists call in, we'll keep talking to them. As for right now, however, we've got Bob calling in from the UK, pronouns he, him, is a theist who wants to know if atheists have evidence of everything that we accept and believe. This will be an interesting conversation. Bob, you are on the line. How are you doing today?
Bob.
Bob, are you there? Can you hear me? I hear some shuffling. I'm going to put Bob back in the queue, and we're going to come back to Bob if we can maybe get him on the thing. I don't want to drop him, but we'll try again here in just a little bit. Instead, we will go for Ashton, pronouns he, him, calling in from Texas. Tips for dealing with doubts in regards to atheism and a personal lack of spirituality. Ashton, you are on the line. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. So basically, this is my first time on the show. So can I just
congratulations
start talking about? Yeah. So can I just start talking about like my experiences, or whatever, or like? Can I just
by all means, tell me what you think.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So recently, I've been an atheist for about 4 years. You know, I'm about to graduate high school in about a month. So I actually go to a Christian high school, and what's ironic is that, you know, I went in Christian and I came out atheist, which of course happens to a lot of people. But one thing I've been experiencing recently that has kind of shaken kind of my skepticism is that I've been experiencing more things that I can't necessarily explain. And I know that's happened to a lot of people, but for me, these experiences I had are really crazy. So just to start, just to preface, I'm really into like satanic things. I'm really into like, I'm a metalhead, by the way, so I listen to stuff like Possessed and Slayer. Like I love that shit. Like I love it. I don't know if I can swear, by the way. Can I swear?
You can. Fuck yeah, you can.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I didn't want to accidentally say something like, I'm banned. But yeah, I love that kind of stuff. And I joined a server to research more about atheistic Satanism. Anton LaVey, I've always been interested in him and stuff like that. So, but in this server on Discord I joined, it also had stuff about demonolatry, which is, you know, the worship of demons. So I went in there and I met this girl who had claimed that she has telekinesis and that she's able to be possessed by a demon. And of course, at first I was like, you know what? I'm not going to take this seriously. She's probably just crazy. You know, that's what most people would assume. But what's weird, and by the way, I'm not arguing for this, like, whatever. I'm just reciting my experience. I asked her, hey, well, can you show me what you can do? And she's like, oh, sure. And she stood up, she started moving all this kind of stuff around. She started knocking over pillows. She started knocking over stuff with her hand, with her mind, or it looked like that anyways. I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool, but it could be fake. And then later down the line, when we started talking a few days later, she allegedly actually got possessed, quote unquote, on call. And of course, she did all the stereotypical things. She could move strong objects that are really heavy that people can't really move. She actually grabbed a lighter and showed me. She stuck out her tongue and stuck her tongue over the lighter, and her tongue didn't burn and she didn't feel any pain. And she also did it to her fingers and all that. and she started speaking other languages and all that. And it was really interesting to me because I'd never seen that before. Sure, I've researched and I've watched some of Matt's stuff about in regards to like demonic possession. I think he did. I forget, but I've watched some of the stuff like that. But even though I recognize that there are potential factors that could have been kind of contributing to me thinking that it's real, I can't help but look at that and go, what the fuck is going on? Like, I can't explain that. And she's also been telling me all this.
Have you ever been to a magic show before?
No, I have not, but I this is why I call this show, as a matter of fact, because I know that there's some magicians in your kind of, what's it? How do I say?
I can show you some magic right now. Check this out. Check this out. Look. See that? Thumb.
He's a witch.
Right off, and now totally healed. Proof of God right there, right? So that's the thing. It's like there's a the thing is like when you say all the things you just said, this person was moving objects telekinetically with their mind. Well, so was that guy I can't even remember his name because it was just that guy that the Amazing Randy debunked because he was able to move things with his mind until the Amazing Randy put little pieces of paper all around the things he was trying to move and he couldn't blow on them anymore. And then all of a sudden his powers disappeared. Yuri, right? Yeah, well, I think it was Yuri Geller, I believe it was. Yeah, he was the guy. Yuri Geller would spend spoons and everything with his mind and made a fortune selling books, telling everybody else how they can also bend spoons with their minds if they just believe hard enough. And then suddenly, when somebody gave him a spoon that he didn't himself personally bring to the studio, he couldn't do it. It was just magically his powers just didn't work on anybody else's spoons.
His control was ruined.
And so like that's the thing is like you're telling me this person did some crazy things. They didn't burn their tongue with a lighter. Cool, their tongue was wet. Whatever else. There's a million different things that could explain this, or maybe this person's just flipping crazy and they actually are feeling pain, but their brain isn't recognizing it. Who knows? There's a million and one explanations for this, and what I'm wondering is why is it that when in any other situation, if I got up in front of you and I pulled out a deck of cards and I made your card appear or something like that, would one of your qualifying explanations be like, okay, maybe there's a God here? Or would you say, okay, this guy's got some cool tricks? Right. And so
I would say,
when somebody else does this in this particular situation, for some reason, you're more likely to include supernatural things as a possibility. And I'm wondering why you would do that to yourself.
Okay, so can I explain?
By all means.
Okay, so the reason why is because honestly, of course, like I said, I've had experience in Christianity. I was raised Christian, all that. So I think probably what's going on is that, by the way, I have clinically diagnosed anxiety, and I have, of course, one of the reasons why I deconstructed from Christianity was because I was tired of being plagued with that fear of hell and all that. And I feel like that probably one of the possibilities is that since I see that, I'm like, oh, it's probably demonic. My internal, since I had Christianity so ingrained into me, I was like, oh, wait, well, this could be a possibility, even though I recognize, well, it's not really. And another thing is also, because again, like you said, she's probably most likely crazy because one of the things, and I don't want to sound like I'm crazy because again, I'm just trying to look for truth, man. I just want to get the right answers. But what she told me was that she was telling me that she's talked to Lucifer, she's talked to Beelzebub, and that what's weird is that she actually says that she's married to him, which is beyond like not even
if you'd
like crazy.
you can very easily go to like most subways and you can meet people who have the same stories and the same I've met a few people walking around Tulsa. Tulsa's not even a big city. Downtown Tulsa, no joke. I had a dude who told me all about how he was convinced that I was an alien, and he believed that there was by using cars instead of covered wagons, a trip from Tulsa, Oklahoma City used to take 3 days, and now it takes 2 hours, and that time is like a real quantifiable thing in our spirits that is disassociated from us now, and it's part of the problems in society. And he also told me that he was going to rebuild the sewer system. He was going to rebuild the sewer system and all sorts of that. Like he's a dude on meth, and he told me a bunch of shit. And so like here you've got this person who can do some cool tricks and who says some crazy things. How are you going to analyze whether or not you take them any more seriously than anybody else who can do some cool tricks and say some dumb things?
And that's my problem. I don't think I can because, they're over the internet. That's the main problem. And the reason why I keep worrying about it is because
no one can lie on the internet. I mean, that's the thing. If it's on the internet, it has to be true.
No, there's no way. How dare someone go on the internet tell lies? That's no way.
Yeah, I mean, and if you're seeing her move objects with her mind, not in person, then I mean, come on, man.
That was my next question. Is that so? This is all online. You're seeing this through like a webcam.
Yes, and again, I don't want to sound like I'm stupid or anything. Like I'm just.
You're not.
Again, I'm just going through because again, one of the things is that I think one of the reasons why, by the way, I kind of, if you can tell, I kind of process out loud. So I may be coming to realizations right now. But I was going to say,
I hope so.
One of the things that I realized is that she says also, oh, well, I see Archangel Gabriel behind you and he's with you and he says this and he says that. And a lot of the things that quote unquote Gabriel has said is very contradictory to reality. Like, for example, I had a friend who said something really weird to me. I'm not going to say why. This is private information. But I told the girl that I was talking to, and I was like, oh, I know, I was kind of curious. I wonder what Gabriel has to say. Because, again, I'm just trying to see. I was trying to test her and all that. And what happened was that he was like, oh, she's trying to flirt with you. She's trying to do this. And I'm like, well, that doesn't sound about right. I've known this girl since middle school, and she would have never done that with me. She would never try to hit on me. We've always been platonic, only friends only. So I, whatever. So, and I know her Ashton, better than that girl does. Yes.
So Ashton, what you told us thus far, just to recap, is there's a woman on the internet who you don't know in person, but you've seen on a webcam do some interesting looking things that can absolutely easily be done with any level of basic computer editing software that anybody could master and make it look really good.
True.
If anybody knows how to, So you know a person on the internet who can do cool internet tricks and who says things that don't make any sense and who makes predictions about people that that don't make any sense and doesn't like you talking to other girls and is getting a lot of attention from you. Does this maybe sound like a supernatural experience, or does this sound like just a person being weird and you're watching them be weird?
Most likely that. Again, like I said, I think, again, it's like, one of the problems with me is that since my Christian kind of belief system has been so ingrained into me, and I've never seen someone do these kind of tricks before at all. I mean, I've seen magicians, of course. Yeah.
That's the thing, man. So
I don't want it to sound like we're talking down to you, because we're absolutely not. You were primed to kind of be taken in by people like this. The people that love you and were supposed to protect you from things like this, kind of unintentionally, I would believe, set you up to be taken advantage of by a person like this. I think I can hear it in your voice. I trust your gut that this is bullshit. On a webcam, if I had a fishing line tied to this neon sign behind me, I could pull this fishing line right off screen and it would fall off the wall. And I'd be like, "Don't call other girls, Ashton. I can throw things with my mind."
I would say, you know what, though?
You to cheat on me.
If I was you, I would get yourself a piece of paper or a whiteboard or something like that, and I would write something on that, and then I would hold it just like this and say, "All right, Gabriel's standing behind me. Have Gabriel read it. Have Gabriel read this thing that I just wrote something down. And if she doesn't come up with the word poop, then she's full of poop." And that's what I would do if it was me.
Yeah.
So try that. Ask her to move something in your room. instead of moving shit in her room, ask her to move something in your room. Just have some fun with it.
And she failed.
Yeah, I wonder fucking why, bro. Yeah, dude, I think that you are already, if the fact that you're asking questions about this is great. I think you need to be a little bit more skeptical of things when they come up and be a little bit more curious about it and ask some more questions. And, if you're thinking out loud, that's fine. Keep doing that. But definitely keep thinking. It sounds like somebody's bamboozling you and trying to take advantage of you.
Yeah, exactly. So one more thing before I go, I was actually going to say, because I actually brought up the satanic stuff earlier. And I was going to say, of course, since I too am unconvinced, partially, because again, I'm still going through stuff. I'm unconvinced that Satan exists or whatever. I've always wanted to explore more satanic topics and kind of that more aesthetic. And because, I'm still, teenage angst, just trying to get that stuff out, I'm kidding. But
Sure.
I've always wanted to explore that. But my main fear is that I don't, because one of the things that people keep telling me is that, you're going to attract demons if you do this, and that. So I'm like, on the surface, I'm like, oh, that's bullshit. Because what I did is I did an experiment where I said out loud, I was like this, okay, I set up these things to where I got the most satanic things in my house, all the imagery, all the everything. And I kept putting out into the world. I was like, okay, I want every demon that's in this area to possess me. I knew it wouldn't work. And surprise, surprise, it didn't work. So I proved to myself that whole concept that if I put things out that are satanic, it would attract. I proved that was bullshit to myself. But again, this girl comes along, but then she reinforces that idea in my mind. I'm like, man, I'm going back to reverting. So that's the thing, is that my main question is that what are some good ways to explore these things that I used to be fearful of, but let me reword that. How do I explore these topics that I really want to explore, but I'm still fearful will get me possessed or whatever? Because I am deathly afraid of that.
Consider
Good.
Maybe Jesse has a better answer than me.
For me, because I grew up in a similar environment, right? And the devil's the boogeyman. I think that looking into the actual history of what we know of as demons will take away a lot of their power for you. There's a YouTube channel. It's a little dry, but it's called Esoterica. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Esoterica, but there's this rabbi.
I've heard of them before. Yeah, I think I've watched them a few times.
Watch his one on demons. It's owls. It's friggin' owls, man. What we get the idea of it from in Abrahamic religion started off as owls, and it's just you're not going to get possessed by an owl. I promise. But I say all that to say, arming yourself with knowledge will take away a lot of that fear, and also you'll start looking at I like some of the ideas, not the philosophy, but some of the ideas behind some of the Satanism, because it's all very don't have sex with people that don't want to have sex with you and stuff like that. I just don't think that the devil's real, and I think it's not productive to get wrapped up in the idea of trying to appease a supernatural thing, whether it be a god or a devil or an angel or a demon,
of course,
that isn't really there.
Of course.
Yeah, I would also say No, you're fine. I figured you would have a better answer than I did. Again, since this is something you actually dealt with yourself as well, and I think you hit the nail on the head about knowledge is power. We're less afraid of things when we know what they are. Fear of the unknown is the big one. But I think controlled exposure is really important. So I used to be when I was a little kid. I got the piss scared out of me by those back in when I was a youth. Internet screamers where you'd look at a picture and a face would jump out at you and scream at you. Those were
the
really
maze
popular.
With the maze with Reagan from
exactly.
The Exorcist. Yeah, I remember that.
Precisely, yeah. Those were really big on the internet for a little while, and I got the shit scared out of me a few times, and I was 10, and I just hated it, and it was just this traumatic thing. And so, but I'm fascinated by things that scare. I love it, and a lot of people are. And so I remember when I was probably 12, 13 years old or so, is I would sit there and I would look up every single one of those screamer videos that I could find, and I would scroll down till it was just a little sliver at the very top of the screen, and I would take notes of what's going to jump out, when it does it, what sound it makes, how again, and I would be sitting there with my heart beating out of my chest, freaking out, panicking, even though I can't actually see it. I just know that it's existing near me, and I was terrified. And skip forward now, I'm 31 years old, and I literally I watch scary video games and shit. I'll put on Markiplier, getting piss scared out of him to go to sleep because I love that shit, and I love horror movies, and I love getting. I want to be scared by a fucking ghoul right now. It would be great, and so just getting into that is so cool. And I never was afraid of demons, but I have found demons fascinating my whole life. I think they're really interesting. You can go pick up a copy of the Lesser Key of Solomon, and dig through dozens and dozens of demons that people have believed in for 1,000 or so years. My favorite demon's Vapula Gang. Vapula is a really cool demon. He's the one that teaches
with Dracula.
No. Vapula is he was the one who teaches philosophy and science and mechanics in order to give you knowledge to lead you away from Jesus and shit. I don't. It never expressly states that that's his purpose, but that is what he does. He's this powerful demon with legions of little demons under him, and his whole job is to teach science. And I was like, fuck yeah! I remember reading about him when I was a kid. I was like, that's so cool. But yeah, dude, check that out. Yeah, all the theists watching this right now are now convinced about who I really am. Anyway, but yeah, dude, I think you're on the right path. Yeah, I'm just a little bit. I had some guy comment on one of my videos like, this guy's the Antichrist. I had some guy comment on one of my videos like, this guy's the Antichrist. I'm like, dude, don't fucking spoil the ending. We're not there yet. Anyway, Ashton, you're doing great, man. Keep on asking questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Keep on being skeptical.
Yeah, again, like I said, I don't want to seem like I'm stupid because I'm big on knowledge. It's just that, like I said, I guess it's just. I mean, I can't help but be irrational. I'm a human. I can't help that. I mean, I can't help that, but
recognizing the logical fallacies and irrational thinking that we are all plagued with is the first step towards learning. A lot of science programs, the first things they teach you is how to think properly. And so, like Jesse said, the pump has been primed for you with a bullshit religion that teaches you to use bad logic to come up with bad conclusions. So getting out of that's going to take some time, but you put in the work and it'll be worth it. I promise you.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I may come up again in a future show, but man, yeah, I really appreciate you guys. So I may or may not talk to that girl again in the future, but I'm going to do some experiments with her. No, well, I don't, that sounds horrible, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah. All right. Take care, Ashton.
All right. See ya. Yeah, you too.
See, that's the thing, man, is a lot of people, by the way, that's Vapula, V as in Victor, A-P-U-L-A. I realize it's V's are weird in English, and I just saw someone in the comments saying they're in the Fapula Club, and that's a very different thing. Yeah, that's, one thing that I've talked about a lot is that, there are a lot of people in the skeptic community that aren't very good skeptics. And a lot of people, that are atheists that struggle with skepticism and struggle with critical thinking in those ways. So I don't have any problem with Ashton at all. I think he's on a journey, especially he sounded pretty young. I don't think he ever said his age, but at risk of sounding incredibly patronizing. Okay. Yeah. So especially at risk of sounding incredibly patronizing, especially as a high school senior, you're a lot more prone to that kind of thinking. And I think it's good to take the time to really parse these things out.
I think the kid's going to be all right, man. He's asking the right questions. You could tell his mind was halfway there already.
For sure. I agree. We've got a few other calls left on the line. As always, lines are open for theists. If anybody wants to call in and challenge us on God or on evolution or on sex and gender or on the age of the earth or on radiometric dating or on any other thing, climate change, you name it, we're here for you. Or purity culture. And the community of the church and other things that Jesse would be better. I think there's a lot of things. But we got Bob back. Bob actually, after we put him back in the queue, he dropped and then he called back and he's here again. So we're going to see if we can get him on now. We've got one more time. We'll try it again. Bob, pronouns he, him, calling him from the UK. Wanting to know if we have evidence for everything we believe. Bob, you are on SkepTalk, hopefully for real this time. Are you there?
Yeah, hello. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
There you are. All right. Sweet. All right. So what I've got on the call is what I said, but I'm hoping you have a little bit more detail to your question.
Basically, my question is: do atheists have evidences of everything they accept or believe?
Okay. So just to be sure what we're talking about, when you say everything we accept and believe, are you saying that in like the phrase of like an apologist who is like, how do you know every single thing? And like, how do you know you're not a brain in a vat? And how do you know that you're not in a simulation? And how do you know you're not going to fall through the chair you're sitting on? And how do you know the sun is going to come up tomorrow without faith and all that? Or are you actually just asking about like scientific inquiry? Like what's, because I've
No,
gotten the questions like that
basically.
before. And like I said,
All
it's
right,
usually
let me
dishonest. So what do you mean?
all right, I'm gonna clarify it for you. So
Sure.
basically my question is, because atheists always say like, because they haven't seen God. By the way, I'm a Muslim. By the way, I just want you to know that.
I'm not. Okay. So go on. What were you saying? You were clarifying.
You chased him off, Forrest.
Bob, are you there?
Hello.
Oh, he's
Hey,
back.
there you are. All right.
Oh, sorry. I don't know
So-
what happened there. Sorry about that.
So you were
Hello.
clarifying. You said that because atheists say that we've never seen God or something.
Yeah, that means you won't believe in it. So I've got a question for you. How do you know your
That's
date of birth? It's your date of birth.
okay. So yeah, so it is exactly what we were talking about. Yeah. So I know because of the documentation of it, and because for a little while I knew the person who was there when it happened. And so I had some reliable sources to go off of, and also it's not exactly consequential enough for me to really super look into. I don't really remember being born. I don't even know if I was around for it, to be honest with you. I don't know if it even happened. But like, as far as I can tell, July 22nd, 1992, somebody shit me out. And that's what the court seems to think. So that's what I've got.
In
I
addition to
know
that,
that.
like
I know.
Forrest is here, so
I
like he
know.
has evidence of his own
Yeah,
birth.
I know I was born because I'm here right now. I'm pretty sure I know the date and time because of the legal documentation of the event.
Yeah, but that doesn't, because like, how do you know that's for sure for a fact? That doesn't prove the fact. That's a fact, is it? You know, it doesn't prove though,
So
because
sure it
we
does.
know that they make mistakes. No, it doesn't. I'm
Well,
not here
okay,
to
so
confront you or anything. But I'm here just to make
it's
like
reasonable to expect that it's accurate. There, of course, people do make mistakes, but again, the person who gave birth to me seems to think that the documents were accurate. So the doctor's in the room, and the documentation of what happened in the room, and the person who is in the room giving birth to me all agree on one thing, and so I'm going with that.
okay. Now that I, as a Muslim, I accept that. Okay, but why is it that the atheists don't accept, like for instance, the Islamic view that we also accept testimony?
Because there's
Because
really lackluster, shitty testimony about things that didn't happen. And so, like,
no,
for
no, no, no,
example,
no.
if
We,
I pick up a history book and it talks about George
yeah,
Washington as the first president, neither I nor anybody else I know was there to see it. And of course, all the documentation we have could be mistakes, but there's sufficient levels of historicity. So, like, all this documentation, all pointing in the same direction. We have letters from the guy, we have signatures from the guy, we have of several different artists all painting the same dude. We have artifacts from the dude. We have the guy's teeth. Like, we have all these things that are still pointing in the same direction. So I'm okay. Yeah, then maybe that happened. But if at any point I picked up a history book and it said George Washington flew to heaven on a winged horse or split the moon in half, as the Quran says Muhammad did, I would be a lot more skeptical to say, okay, that probably is bullshit, because that doesn't sound reasonable at all. That doesn't necessarily mean that George Washington never existed, but it definitely leads me to think that maybe this book in particular isn't accurate.
right. I was about to give you exactly a similar answer to what we Muslims believe in, because we also have people who testified to the Prophet Muhammad, whom peace be with, splitting the moon and doing a lot of his miracles. And of course, we have the Quran, which is written from, which is memorized by him and his companions, who passed it on to generations and generations. So we also have testimony as well about these things.
Right.
So you are
and
actually,
as we've all known from playing the telephone game, eyewitness testimony being passed down from generation to generations is always accurate. What about Satya Sai Baba? Satya Sai Baba died in just 2000. He died in 2011. So he was around during our time, contemporaneous with us. He lived in India, and he, by millions of followers who say that they saw him raise people from the dead, walk on water, heal the sick, produce magical objects from nothing, produce rings and things. Why don't you believe in him when you have all these eyewitness testimonies from today rather than 2,000 years ago?
Because I did not make an agreement with the person to testify that, because I wasn't there.
Who did you
If
make
you
an
understand what I
agreement
mean.
with who did you make an agreement with that wrote the Quran that told you that what happened there is real?
The Quran says in Surah 7, 172, we made an agreement with God, our souls, to come to this world, and we testified that He is our Lord.
But I didn't.
Are you sure? Because the Quran says that. Just because, why? Why do you think you didn't?
Because I don't
The
believe I
Quran-
have a soul.
Yeah. The Quran also says that sperm comes from your spine. So, like, yeah,
No,
it says a lot of things.
No, it doesn't. It says water. It says fluid. But anyway, can you answer my question, please, first, and then we'll get to that.
I can tell you that there is nothing in semen that comes from your spine.
We can talk about that, but what I'm saying is, can you answer my question first, please?
Sure.
How do you know that didn't happen?
That someone didn't split the moon in half? How do I know that didn't happen?
How do you know that we didn't have a testimony to God before we came to this earth?
It's entirely so here's the thing, man. Same thing with the Christian Bible is like, maybe all that shit did happen, and maybe somebody wrote it down exactly as it was. We have no evidence of that today. In fact, the evidence seems to be pointing in the opposite direction and saying that those things aren't possible. So here I have a murder trial, right? And we have a body that's been stabbed with an 8-inch blade, and we have footprints of size 11 Jordans walking away from the crime. And you know, we have a photograph of a guy walking into the building right before the murder, and a photograph of him walking out of the building right before the murder. And when we look for that guy, we find that he's got the same shoes with blood on them, and he's got an 8-inch knife with his fingerprints on it and blood all over it. But I wrote a book that said that actually aliens did it, and they just planted all the evidence. Is that possible? Sure, why not? But who are you going to believe? Are you going to believe the evidence that's right in front of you? Or are you going to believe, I heard somebody said this and they passed it down for a long time and they believe, a lot of people believe it, and I made a contract with the people who believe it? Like, what would you do in any other situation ever?
I'll believe both. As long as both are reliable sources, yeah, I'll believe in it.
So you would believe two conflicting things that cannot be happening at the same time?
No, not two conflicting things. Sorry.
Right,
so
but that's what we're talking about here. Either the guy murdered the dude, or somebody else did. And I'm telling you, you've got two different stories. One that's painted by the evidence, and one that's in a dusty old book. Which one do you believe?
Sorry, I thought you were actually saying the same story. Sorry. No, so yeah, that would be justifiable to say no, because the stories are different, yeah.
Right. So here we have, you know, with the Quran and all these things, we've got a bunch of stories, and not all of them make sense. And so you're saying, yeah, but you should believe it anyway, because how do you know? You know, maybe this did happen, and maybe they actually did write it down exactly as that. Sure, but the evidence seems to suggest that that's not the case.
Give me an example in the Quran. What does it make sense, or any mistakes or contradictions?
Muhammad flying to heaven on a winged horse and the moon thing, yeah.
Yeah, but like that's a miracle. We accept God does these things through His prophets. We believe it's a miracle.
Right. So
And
so
and
here's the
there's also testimony there as well. People testify to it.
right. And people also testified in the Bible. There's a bunch of stuff saying that people testified seeing Jesus raised from the dead. I don't believe that shit happened either. So like some
Okay.
people wrote some stuff in a book and in the next part of the book they said, "Yeah, but also a lot of people saw it." And you don't know any of those people either. And then also in the book it says, "And God said that the book is right." And so the book says some stuff and then the book says the book is right. And then the book also says that some other people think the book is right, but they're also just people in the book. And you have the book. And you're like, okay, so here in the book, it says some stuff. And it says that the book is right in the book. And it says that the book believes people, there's people in the book that think that the book is right. No, where's the actual thing that you can show me in real life that actually verifies any of that?
Right. Is the Bible reliable according to the Muslims? No, because we, as a Muslim myself,
No,
I've looked into the Bible. Hang on, let me finish, please. Sorry, let me finish. I've looked into the
Sure.
Bible, and there's a lot of contradictions in it. There's a lot of false prophecies in it, and because of that, I cannot believe in it. See it as a reliable source. However, the Quran is a reliable source to me. This is why I'm challenging you. Show me a mistake or a false prophecy. There's at least more than 10 prophecies in the Quran. At least 7 already came through. All right, or show me. I mean, I'm not an expert on science, so I don't really like to talk about science because I don't know much about it. You understand what I'm saying? But when it comes to prophecies and doing things and prophesizing for us to memorize the Quran, in every single land in this world, every single Muslim, in sorry, not every single Muslim, but at least over 100 million Muslims memorize the Quran. There's a prophecy in the Quran that prophesies Muslims to memorize the Quran. Who would have known these things other than God?
So in Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek, there's a ton of stuff that was predicted that actually came true. Communicators, instant translators. We're coming close to something very close to a tricorder. GPS, like all sorts of things. Holodecks, all sorts of things from Star Trek that were absolutely ludicrous science fiction when this show was made, but today are reality. So is Gene Roddenberry a prophet?
When was it done? That show. When was it done?
In like the 1960s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There you go. Because they know that they have the capacity to do it. That's why they started talking about it.
None of
You
that
know, but
stuff had been
somebody
invented.
hang on. Yeah, but they know they have they probably have done the experiment about it, and then they started telling people they'll do it because they do experiments, and then they'll tell people, oh, in the next 10 years we're going to create this, but they've done it already. You know, but 1,400 years ago, 1,400 years ago, how can a man predict for Muslims to take over the whole land from the Roman Empire? It's in the Quran for Muslims to take over the land from the Roman Empire.
You know, it's
Who
funny
would have known that?
we have
Muslims to do that.
there's a guy, yeah, and if it hadn't happened, then you wouldn't be talking about it. It just happened to be that a religion behaved like a religion and spread quite a bit. We have a guy who calls in from time to time saying that the fact that the whole world uses a 7-day week cycle is proof that Jesus Christ is actually God, because it says in the Bible that God, he's going to unite the world in some weird connection that he makes. I don't ever remember. And that the way that Jesus has united the world is by making us all keep track of our days in 7-day weeks, and that's God controlling the world, and that's prophecy come true. You're just saying things. It's like when Christians say that in the end of times, the Bible says that there will be wars and rumors of wars. When hasn't that been the case? You're saying, oh well, the Muslims have taken over a bunch of land. Sure, they were a religion that spread like a religion does, either through scientific progress for a long time and then also violence through a long time. So like they did a little bit of both. Christians did the same thing, and here we are now with a religion.
Okay. I'm gonna quote this to you because the Roman Empire was a superpower with the.
Oh, we've lost you again.
I think we lost you, Bob.
We'll give him a few seconds to come back.
Hello, can you hear me?
Welcome back, Bob.
There you are.
Hello? Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. So basically, I'm going to quote this verse from the Quran in Surah 24, verse 55. This is a prophecy. Muslims will take over the land. And this is the Roman Empire, by the way, that was prophesied. One of the biggest in the world. The Arabs, who were Bedouins, yeah, a few thousands of them, how can they take over with this prophecy? It says here, Surah 24, verse 50.
I think he's leaning on the mute button on his phone. I think he's
Maybe.
getting real hyphy, and he's like putting his phone against his ear, and he's just leaning on the mute button.
No, I'm not doing anything, so.
Oh, there you are. You're back again. You just keep phasing in and out.
So this is Surah 24, verse 55. It says here, Allah promised those of you who believe and do right actions, which means the Muslims, that He will make them successors in the land as He made those before them, which means the Jews and the Christians, and will firmly establish for them their religion, which He is pleased with. He gives them in the place of their fear security. They worship me and not associate partners with me.
So
as you can
it's
see,
exactly the same thing. So it's exactly the same thing as the parts of the Bible that say that if you're resolute in faith in Jesus, that you'll do anything, which is the exact thing that the colonizers here in the U.S. said when they had the whole manifest destiny thing, and they said, God says in the Bible that we are going to conquer a new world and blah, 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 and then they committed genocide against the Native Americans. And so it's the exact same thing, just on the other half of the world. These guys said, the Quran says that we'll be prosperous and blah, 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 and they spread all over the place through violent means and sometimes non-violent means, sometimes, and then they landed where they're at. And here on our side of the world, the Christians came over and said, our Bible says we're going to conquer new blah, 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 and they did the exact same shit in a different part of the world, and here we are with a religion behaving like a religion. You've yet to prove anything is magical here. You have a book that says you'll take over the world. And some people who really, really fervently and passionately believed in that book did a bunch of shit and spread real far and wide. And the question that I have for you, Bob, is when we talk about the spread of religion, do you think that that is better attributed to the documented historical record of violence and forced conversions and genocide that go along with pretty much every religious spread? Or do you think in this one particular special case, actually, God was just doing some magic and everybody just decided to be Muslim tomorrow?
No, I'm just saying what you mentioned about America. First of all, the native Indians were not a superpower. Do you understand what I'm saying? So Americans had guns, they didn't have guns. So it's easy to predict that they're going to go and wipe them out, which they did. But however, the Muslims were the weak people. They were very small in number, and the Roman Empire were all over the world, in the Arabian Peninsula, Egypt, Lebanon, Syria.
Until it collapsed, and then they didn't have the resources, and Muslim countries did.
The Muslim Empire actually destroyed them and the Persian Empire. God actually prophesied this in the Quran. So how can a man who is from the Arabian Peninsula, who can't read, by the way, he can't read or write, Prophet Muhammad, he can't read or write. How can he predict this other than from God? Because it's not within his knowledge to do these things. On top of that, we have plenty of scientific evidences in the Quran. Plenty of it.
What I'm trying to get through to you here is that they did it the exact same way as every other religion that has spread. They said it's going to happen, and then a lot of people who fervently believed it made it happen, and then they turned around and looked behind them and said, see, it happened. And all the religions that said the same thing and didn't spread, you don't know about because they didn't spread.
Well, Christianity spread through the Roman Empire. There was no violence because the Roman Empire just converted.
There was no violence?
Everybody, well, pretty much no, because when the Romans accepted Christianity, everybody accepted it like that. I mean, they used some force, yeah, but like, it's natural back in the day.
Used some force. Just a little bit.
Yeah, go on.
Bob, I'm going to jump in real quick just with a personal anecdote, if that's okay. I haven't spoken too much because I really wanted to hear what you had to say, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. I don't. I
Yeah, you're
share
welcome.
a similarity of background with you. Not that I was Muslim, but I was very religious for a long time. And the holy text of my book had a lot of prophecies that came true. They did. They absolutely did. You don't believe in the Bible. I mean, I'm sure you believe parts of it because there's some valuable stuff in there,
Yes,
sure.
yes, yes.
But
Overlap.
Yeah.
but yeah, there's lots of overlap. But you know, at the end of the day, your holy book is not the same. But you know, my holy book had a lot of things that came true as well. And you know, at the end of the day, I had to ask myself, is this coincidence? Do I have evidence of these things mattering? Maybe they're like Forrest was saying. A lot of these things they can have just been kind of a wild guess, and they happened, and that's why we still remember it. The Book of Daniel, we found out Daniel was written after Daniel. You know, and it's a book of prophecy, man. The Book of Daniel was a lot of the prophecy of Daniel came true because it was written after the prophecy was supposed to have happened. Um, but that's all to say that when you take a look at the evidence we have for the world around us and reality as it is, and I'm not trying to step on your toes, man, because I can tell you're passionate about this, and I think that passion is the first step towards something great. We have evidence
Yeah, thank you.
of what we believe, but we don't have evidence of the claims that these books have made.
Okay, I mean, myself, I believe some biblical prophecies and stories are true. So I'm not saying
Sure.
everything in the Bible is wrong. I'm not saying everything in there is wrong, but there's prophecies in there where Jesus said he's going to return within the lifetime of his disciples. We know that Jesus is not back yet 2,000 years later. So the Bible itself there indicates to me that it's not reliable. And of course, there's many other prophecies, but I don't want to go there. I'm not a Christian. I don't want to touch the Christian religious book. You know what I mean? I think that that's rude for me to do that. If a Christian wants to come and defend their religion, they should come over here and do that. But I don't believe the Bible is true. I've got my reasons for it. And the Quran also not only has prophecies, it also has scientific facts here. You may differ, but can I show you some so that maybe you can see?
I'm not particularly interested, dude. Like, if you want to, we can. It's fine. Like, we have the time, but like, it doesn't really do anything for like what you originally called in about, which was saying, do you have evidence for everything that you believe? And the first thing I asked you was, is this a bullshit gotcha question? And you were like, no, and then it absolutely was. And so, like,
No,
where
of course.
we're at right
Yeah.
now, where we're at right now is like, I have evidence for, like, say for example, I study and teach evolution. I have evidence for that. I have a reason to believe that is totally independent of everything else, and I'm able to like actually like identify different pieces of independent evidence. I believe in the Big Bang, and I have independent sources of evidence that point in that direction. The age of the Earth, I have independent sources, and I hate the word believe in this context. I'm just using it colloquially, but like all of these things I have evidence for, and not one bit of that evidence is I read some book where some people said that some people saw it and I need to believe it because it's in the book. And I don't see anything like that from what you're saying. You just said, well, the Quran's got some true stuff in it. Well, it's also got some shit that very clearly isn't true. And when I bring that up, you're like, yeah, but magic happened. And that's okay. And that means that the true stuff is true because sometimes there's magic. And I'm like, show me
Yes.
some other magic, you know? Like that doesn't make any sense. And I don't think what bothers me so much is that I want to give you the benefit of the doubt here and say that you wouldn't do that either or anything else. If I came to you, if you didn't know anything about evolution, and I came to you and said, hey, actually, you know, all life is related to each other, and we are great apes, and we're the descendants from other great apes, and you were like, okay, that sounds really fantastic. Show me. And I'm like, nah, it's magic. Fuck you. You wouldn't believe me. And like, you wouldn't take me seriously, even if I was like, here's The Origin of Species. It's a book that talks about it. You wouldn't take it seriously. So why do you expect me to treat what you're saying any differently than you would treat anybody else saying the things you're saying about anything else?
Well, we have to remember in Islam we believe magic does exist. People can't do magic because
Sure.
the Pharaoh and his people with the story of Moses, he did magic. and some other people as well. We accept these things. It may appear as a miracle, but it's not, because they deal with certain forces we call jinn, which you guys call, is it UFOs or genies, whatever you
Genie.
call it.
Genie, yeah.
Genie, yeah. This is what we believe in. So we believe people can do magic, but the difference between magic and miracle is done to through God. Magic is done through the devil. So we accept these things. And
Sure.
your question,
And a lot of Christians say the same thing, and you don't believe them.
Yeah, but I've already told you about the Christian Bible. I've seen evidences there, which I cannot actually accept.
Yeah, but don't you understand? All those things that are wrong in the Bible, that's the devil. And actually, it's the real magic is God. God did the miracles that made all the things in the Bible happen, and that everything after that is just the devil, including the Quran. The Quran is all lies. Do you believe me because I said it's magic? Or do you think that's a silly way to have an argument?
No, I mean, you have to prove it to me, though. Like the way I'm speaking about the Bible, you have to prove it to me in the Quran. If there's any mistakes there, any contradictions, or any scientific errors, or any magical stuff in there. Because I don't believe that. I mean, people say there's scientific errors there. I'm not an expert in science. However, I have looked into scientists actually speaking about some verses in the Quran, which is true. Other ones, they're not sure. Other ones, they try to make it look like, oh, it's got a problem. Sperm coming from your backbone.
There are some scientifically accurate verses in the Bible too, and there's a lot of scientifically inaccurate verses in the Bible. So here we are again, where we have just compare and contrast here, right? We've got two books. Both have some things in them that are very clearly true. Both have some things in them that are very clearly false. Both of the people who believe in the book say the false things are actually just because of magic. And here I am looking at both books saying, I don't fucking believe you, and you need to demonstrate it to me. And your argument is, yeah, but mine's right. And I do not get how you're comfortable saying that. And especially, like, we've got to move on. But like, there's like, just especially to sit here to two people who give a shit about this and say, how do you know when you were born? You had to go by testimony. And therefore, this 2,000-year-old sex manual is also true because something testimony, and not even have the common decency to say, like, yeah, there's a lot of shit that I just take on faith because I want to believe it. And then we can have a serious discussion about that. But instead, you're saying, yeah, well, there's magic. And if you don't accept there's magic, that's your problem. I don't get how you're serious, dude.
No, I mean, to be fair, you're the one brought up this conversation. I was going to ask you about evidences, and you said to me testimony. And I said to you as well, in Islam, we also have testimony as well. And we have reliable sources from Islam.
Last thing I'll ask you then, what evidences are good enough for you that aren't good enough for me? And why are they good enough for you?
Okay, one of them is that for us human beings and animals and trees and all natural things to exist, there must be a force to exist. You cannot come out of this wall. Why? Because there must be something there. There must be. For instance, your parents. Okay, let me explain, please. Yeah, basically, your parents had you. Your grandparents had your parents. Your great grandparents had your great grandparents. And it goes like that. It goes like that. There must be a stop to it. There must be an end to it. Somebody who is the originator of human beings. You cannot keep going on like that. There must be a source for all human beings and animals to come out. You cannot come out like that.
There is a source for all human beings. There is a source for all human beings. It's Homo heidelbergensis. And the source for them is Homo erectus. And the source for them is Homo habilis. You want me to keep going?
Where's your evidence for that?
For human evolution?
Have you seen the evolution evidences?
Yes.
Yes.
I study and teach it for a living.
Yeah, but how do you know they're telling the truth by teaching you?
I've done it myself. I have studied it myself. When you get a science degree, you don't just listen to somebody saying, here's what it is. You do some experimentation yourself. You do some research yourself.
So you've basically physically seen uh, uh, evolution. You've seen it physically.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes. Can you tell
Wow.
me what's the
I have a-
definition of the word evolution?
I mean, evolution basically is about how the world was created. I think, isn't it?
Nope.
No.
0%.
Okay. What is it then?
Evolution
Okay, tell
started
me then, what is it?
almost a billion years after the world was created. And I shouldn't say the word created either. Evolution is any change in the heritable characteristics of a population across the course of multiple generations. It's something that's easily testable and observable by anybody. It's things that we have seen both in laboratory and in field settings, and we have tremendous mountains of evidence for going back billions of years.
Okay, so how can you see something a billions of years ago? How can you get hold of that to physically
Fossils.
see it? Sorry?
Fossils help.
Hello? Okay. But I actually need to see that or testify to that to believe that.
Do you believe that dinosaurs existed, Bob?
Well, some people say they did. To be fair, I don't know whether it's true or not. I don't know. To be
You
honest.
don't know whether dinosaurs existed or not?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay. Do you believe that any human beings ever existed before us?
Basically, I believe in the story of Adam and Eve.
Ah, why?
Yeah. Why? Because God Almighty told us that in the Quran.
Because you read a book about it. Yeah. So here's the difference here, Bob. Jesse, do you have something before I
just want to say I would, it's not because God Almighty told you in the Quran. It's that the book says that, and that's why you believe it, because we don't have any evidence that God said that. But we do have evidence of all of these transitional species that led back to different kinds of ape people all along. We actually have evidence of things that look almost exactly like us, and things that look a little bit less like us, and a little more like what you would think of as an ape, even though we're apes. We have evidence of things that kind of contradict the story of Adam and Eve. Unless like they don't specifically contradict the story of Adam and Eve, because you can't prove that the magic space wizard guy didn't make two people, but you can prove that there were these transitional species that evolved into what we know as humans. We have very solid evidence of this.
So basically, just to clarify, you're saying what we come from monkeys, right?
I swear to God, dude, if you ask me why they're still monkeys, I'm going to lose it.
I'm going to laugh my ass off.
That's what I'm about to say that exactly.
Yeah. So
why do
here's
we
the thing,
have
Bob.
monkeys then?
Yeah. So Bob, serious question. Like, and I mean this because this is going to sound real fucking condescending, and I don't want to be a jerk to you, but like, real honest.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm
just
willing. I'm
real
willing
talk.
to take any question from you. That's fine. I'm willing
Sure.
to take any questions from you because I'm the one that approached you. So that's fine. Don't worry.
Sure. Okay. Real talk right now. Like I want to be like real flippant, but like just let's have a human moment here. Do you actually think, like sincerely, that why are there still monkeys if we came from monkeys? Do you actually think that is seriously a legitimately hard-hitting question about evolution?
Yes, I do, 100%. Yeah, because otherwise monkeys would have turned human beings as well, but they didn't.
No, they wouldn't. That doesn't make any sense. So here's the thing, Bob. You've said several times that you don't know, you're not an expert in science, and that's fine. You don't have to be. But what I need you to understand is that that level of question is so fundamental. Again, forgive me, I really don't mean to sound like an asshole here. That level of question about evolution is so fundamentally, basically like pointless that it shows me that you actually don't know anything at all about what evolution is or how it works. And the fact that you thought a minute ago that it has to do with the creation of the world really lands a nail in that coffin. So what we've got here, I'm happy to go over it a bit with you.
I think I got mixed up with Big Bang. Sorry, I got mixed up with the Big Bang with it. Sorry.
The Big
Yeah.
Bang also has nothing to do with how the Earth formed. That's a totally different
Oh,
thing as
really?
well.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So
well, there you go.
what
I
we're
got
talking
it
about
wrong. I
here-
got it wrong. That's fine.
Yes. So what we've got here is we have scientific explanations for the origins of the universe, for the origins of the planet, for the origins of life, and for the origins of humans. It's my job to study and teach those things. So I know a bit about them. And it's okay that you don't. You don't have to if it's not your job to know those things. But what you're doing is you're saying, I don't know anything about that, therefore it's wrong. And this book about magic in the desert is correct. I don't, and the straw man arguments that you have about evolution, if you're able to ask why there are still monkeys, it means you literally don't understand the concepts of how evolution works. And so you're going off of this thoughtless exercise saying, I don't know how this, it doesn't make any sense to me. And so it's probably not real. And I'm just wondering, like, you called in about evidence. Do you really think that, like, we who study this stuff at an academic level don't know the answers? Like, we don't have that? That we're all around like, you know what? Probably we just came from monkey. Let's just say that. Let's just go with it. Fuck it. And we all just believe it? Or do you think that maybe we have a reason to believe it?
Yeah, but like this is what we also Muslims will say exactly, because we have over 120,000 prophets sent around the world. So they come stages after stages. Sometimes you get 2 of them, 3 of them together. So we also have people over 124,000 that testify that there's prophets, God Almighty exists. So what about that one?
What? Yeah. Okay. So what testable predictions have these prophets made that you can actually like bank on? Because here's the thing about evolution is without evolution, without our understanding of how evolution works, you don't have agriculture. The food, every single bit of meat or food or vegetable or anything that you get at a grocery store, evolution, our understanding of evolution, not just that it exists, but the way we understand it works, went into making that. If you don't have our understanding of evolution, you don't have medicine. Vaccines and antibiotics are reliant on evolution. If you don't have our understanding of evolution, you don't have most human nutrition. The way that we take care of our bodies today, largely based on evolution. If you don't have evolution and our understanding of evolution, you don't have any part of biology. The science of biology is glued together with our understanding of evolution. Without evolution, nothing in biology makes sense at all. 0%. It is a pile of random facts that mean nothing. So when we talk about evolution, we actually have evidence for it. We have testable observations of it. We have several different lines from different fields all coming together to show one single thing, and we can see it happen with our own eyes. You can go check out my Light of Evolution series on my channel if you want to hear about it, because we've already been on this call for 40 minutes. But
It's really good.
we can see it happening with our own eyes in front of us, and we have evidence of it happening for millions, billions of years. And then you've got this book,
Is there
and you've got some people who say some things.
Is there a video about this evolution I can have a look at? Is there a video about it on YouTube?
Google me. Yeah, look me up on YouTube and look up my series called The Light of Evolution.
What's your name on YouTube?
Just my name, Forrest Valkai. And you can, if you're watching the chat,
I don't know your name, sir. Sorry.
It's Forrest Valkai, and you can see in the chat right there. They've got my channel pinned as well.
Okay,
and I made a
right.
4-part series
okay,
where I detail evolution. But that's also
That's
I'm
fine.
just one biologist. I'm just one biologist explaining it in a way that I think people can understand it. There's tremendous amounts of resources out there about this, and about the Big Bang, and about the age of the Earth, and about everything else. And what I'm trying to drive home to you here is that you are using a completely different set of rules and expectations for your faith than you ever would for anything that we have going for us in science. Science is not just a big book of knowledge that we go and look at and we open it up and we figure out some answer to something. Science is a process by which we find out what is true in the universe. It's a way of testing and observing and using those observations to make new tests and come up with new questions. And every single time you answer a question, you come up with 3 new questions to ask. That's the best part about science. And science working is the reason why you're able to call and talk to me right now. So we have the backing.
I know that.
And
You
you
have the
don't.
backing.
You don't have that backing. What you've got is a book about a magic pedophile on the other side of the world who flew to the moon or flew to heaven on a horse, and all you've got is, yeah, but sometimes there's magic. And I don't understand how you can seriously sit here and have a conversation with us, again, people who give a shit about this stuff, and try to act like we're on the same playing field when we're just not.
Well, we also have scientific evidences, so we predate science, right?
No.
You don't predate science. And
All
yes,
right.
Islam used to be a major force for science. There's a reason why most of the stars in the sky have Arabic names, because there's a reason why algebra and algorithm are Arabic words, because yes, Muslims used to lead the world in scientific discovery. And now we live in a world today where there are several countries where not being Muslim is punishable by death. So you've come a long way in the wrong direction, I'm afraid to say. Meanwhile, the rest of us have moved forward, and we've learned a lot of really great stuff.
Right.
And one of the things we've learned is that there are no fucking winged horses.
Where did the Muslims get the science from? From Islam, isn't it? From the Quran, right?
No.
Nope.
It's just through
They got it
observation.
just from being humans, dude. The same place the rest of us get it.
No. Basically, the Quran influenced them into science, because when they saw these things, these scientific facts in the Quran, they looked into it more, and then that made them to actually get involved with science more. But
and then they ignored the parts about winged horses and sperm coming from the spine, and they found the parts that made somewhat of sense, and they squeezed their eyes real tight, and they found some things the same way that Christians today say that they have science in the Bible, because the science in the Bible says that everything's made of small things, and that's like atoms, right? It's the same nonsense, dude. Anyway, we're going to move on to the next call. This has been increasingly frustrating, but feel free to call back another time.
Thanks, Bob.
Ah, my glob, dude.
Forrest, did you know that your calendar, the Gregorian calendar, is proof that the Bible is real?
Isn't it? Yeah. I'm sorry. I know I talked a lot during that call, and I didn't really give a lot of room for you. I apologize but it's deeply annoying. It's deeply annoying when someone can say, "Hey, this thousands of years of progress of the actual minds doing real work, that's all because magical horses." And I'm like, dude, it's so wild to me that you're going to sit here with a straight face and say, yeah, I know that you and like all your predecessors before you have all put in tons of work and effort and really dedicated your lives trying to learn things about this, but like, how are there still monkeys? It was probably this magic space guy. And also this guy who married a 12-year-old. He's science too. I can't do it, dude.
I could have talked to that guy forever, but I think it's good that we spared the viewers that. But like, I totally wanted to like dive into like, oh, I believe in magic. It just comes from Jinn. I wanted to get. Oh my god, I was chomping at the bit for that one. I was like, you believe in? Oh, where have you seen it? I want to do Jinn magic.
I'm sorry. I wish I would have known you were wanting to do something. I should have. No, if I had been less of an asshole, I would have given you the time.
You were not an asshole. You're fine.
That went for me. It went from confusing to funny to sad to annoying. And when we got past funny, I was kind of already at the point where I was like, I don't know if I want to deal with this anymore.
No, it was a good call. The viewers deserve better.
Shit. I'll let you take the next one if you like, because we've got 2 calls left on the thing. We've got one person who wants to talk about the Urey Miller experiments, which I'm sure is something you're very excited to talk about. And some other one other person who wants to talk about the change from BC to AD to BCE to CE. I'm curious to know if either of those are exciting for you.
I'm gonna let your experienced. I'm gonna let you choose because the one of them sounds like it'd be very exciting or very dry, and so does the other one.
Yeah, they've been waiting for a long time. They've both been waiting for the same amount of time, which is a long time.
Shit.
So we're gonna go with this one first, because like the other one might just be a lot more of me talking, and I don't want to take the whole show. We got Eddie, pronouns he him, calling in from Incredible Dipples, or maybe Indiana. He wants to talk about the switch from BC to BCE. Eddie, you're on SkepTalk. How you doing?
Yeah, very well. How you doing, Forrest? How you doing, Jesse?
Hey, buddy, how are you?
Very well. Yeah, what I wanted to talk about is basically, so I'm what you would call a knowledge whore. Love watching, informational shit. Love learning things. But then I'll be like watching the show, getting into it, really interesting, and then they'll be like back in 700 BC, and I'm like, what the fuck? It's BCE. It changes things to the point where is this misinformation? Because I'm not sure if they're going to put other things in there that's not correct, because that's not the correct way to say that. BC is done. AD is done. It's either BCE or CE. And and that's basically, my bitch about that. And, it pisses me off.
Well, I mean, it's an outdated system, but it was an incredibly prevalent system. And also, if you read, especially anthropology papers, they also have like other ways. Like they talk about they have the common era, and then they have modern, which is like 1960 something. Anytime after that, after radiometric dating was established, and things like that. So like it's just another way of doing it. And like unless somebody is like earnestly trying to defend BC, I wouldn't think that they were being disingenuous or factually inaccurate if they used it. I would just either correct them or ignore it depending on the circumstances of the social interaction.
Right, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's the other misinformation. Like if there's other things that they're changing in there, like say if the story pushes towards a Bible story, and if they sneak that in there, just like little things like that. That's what I'm more worried about. Because
in what particular context are you worried about this?
Like in learning channels, like when people are actually learning things, when they're watching something that's informational, that they're trying to get either something for school or whatever, and they're watching this, and then they slip that in there. There could be other misinformation also that could be slipped in that that's not correct. And that's my problem with it.
I feel like it's less
I agree that
misinformation and more of an antiquated term. Like it's just a thing we don't use as much anymore. Not so much, like a deceit.
Yeah, that's the thing is like even the fact that we use BCE and CE as before Common Era and Common Era, it's the same dates. We just made it a more secular phrasing of the same dates. And it's like, okay, what's the mark of Common Era? It's still Jesus. So like, does it really, the fact that you're using the numbers at all, you could argue is an issue. And even that, why do we use it? There's other people like the Kuskastat, or however you pronounce it, I can't remember off the top of my head. There's a great channel that uses HE, the human era, and they just add a 1 because if you go back 12,000 years, you have some major indicators of civilization. Well, civilization goes quite a bit before then too. But like, hey, it's easy, it's easier than Jesus. So like, I don't know, man. It sounds like things that could be kind of frustrating, and sure, there's issues with that. I have an issue with why we talk about like Y chromosomal Adam and mitochondrial Eve. That's using mythological language to reinforce an idea, and it can be misleading because a lot of people believe those people would have lived at the same time, when in reality they likely lived about 100,000 years apart. So like, I get what you're saying, that it could be misleading and frustrating, but like, I don't know, is there a major issue that you wanted to call in about, or is it just like, yeah, that sucks?
Yeah, basically that's all it was. Just a bitch about that, and say hi to you guys. You know, very you guys are very informational. As Forrest, things I've learned from you has just been amazing. And
man.
yeah, it's that's pretty much all I wanted to call it for. But I appreciate the time, and I'll let
no
you
worries,
get
man.
to the next caller. All right, have a great
Have
day.
the rest of your night, dude. You too. Did you have something, Jesse, before we drop him?
I've got a gripe about BC, the comic book that used to show up in the newspapers where they had cavemen praying to Jesus. That one pissed me off, not because of the religiosity, but because of the anachronisms of like just a caveman praying to like a stone cross. What?
Didn't make any damn sense. Didn't make any damn sense. For real, though. Like, all I'm thinking about now, did you have a NES at any time in your life?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude.
Did you ever play Big Nose the Caveman?
I did.
You did? Yes! You're the first person who has ever known that game besides me. Oh my god, that was the best. All right, next time I visit, I'm bringing my fucking NES, and we're gonna sit down and kick the shit out of a pterodactyl together, you and I. It's gonna be awesome.
Let's go hard,
dude. Oh, I'm legit excited. Okay, we got one more call left, and then we will do our super chats and ramble and bullshit and talk about everything. Quickly before we get on the next call, can't stress this enough. Go subscribe to Jesse Jerdak's channel. We've got Jason, pronouns he, him, calling in from Texas, wants to talk about the Urey Miller experiment. I'm not sure how productive a conversation this would be because I don't know, like, I haven't read that paper in a long time. I couldn't tell you all the details, but we'll see what happens. Jason, you're on the line. How you doing?
I am fantabulous. How about y'all?
Never had a bad day.
Good. But yeah, I was just, first off, I wanted to say, like, pardon me, I've got Tourette's and some ADHD that's kicking at the moment, so we might have some fun here. And I said the Urey Miller experiment because my brain kind of gets it confused with Mr. Bendy Spoons that y'all were talking about a little bit earlier, Uri Geller. But
yeah.
But I was wondering, all right, so when I was first deconverting, I found this experiment, and I found them creating all these amino acids showing the possibility of life from non-life. My question would be, I will admit, I do have some emotional attachment to it because it was one of the big things that helped bring me out, is what would the actual shortcomings of that be? Like, did they not create enough of those amino acids, or they try to say they're the wrong ones? I mean, other than the myopic Christian response of, they set it up, they created it. Like, I'm just kind of wondering what those,
That one single experiment was like groundbreaking for what it was. But it was also back in the like 1960s, and we didn't know a lot about stuff. And so like one of the earliest criticisms of it is that some of the things that they put in those flasks to recreate early Earth might not have actually been on an early fledgling planet. And so what a lot of creationists leave out, because they didn't have the right stuff in there, and so it made amino acids, but it wasn't supposed to. Or, well, yeah, they might have contaminated the jars. Or, oh, well, who knows what else? As they go back, years later, they went back and pulled those jars out, and they had new amino acids in them that they didn't even account for. So when did those come up? Were they new? Did they self-assemble later? Were they contamination? Who knows? What a lot of creationists who criticize the experiment leave out is the fact that was the first of its kind. And it has been tweaked and remodified and rerun and redone in a million different ways, as well as several other experiments that have shown other, building blocks of other major macromolecules self-assembling. And also the fact that we have found all of these building blocks in space, where there isn't anybody contaminating the jobs or fudging the numbers or whatever. So, we have amino acids. There's about 20 amino acids that make up life on Earth. We've found over 500 different kinds of amino acids. You can make any number of amino acids because an amino acid is all the same thing. It's one central carbon. On one side, you've got an amino group. On one side, you've got a carboxylic acid group. On the top, you've got a single hydrogen. And down here, you've got some sort of functional group, which is just any conglomeration of fucking anything that you want. Any amount of molecules can go down here. And so we found like 500 different kinds of amino acids out there in nature. Only about 20 of them do you need to make life on Earth. They need to be left-handed, and so like chirality is a thing. And that's one thing is when the Urey-Miller experiment and other experiments like it, we've shown amino acid self-assembling in lab all the time, but molecules like that they have what we call chirality. This is an area called stereochemistry. So if you have that central carbon and you have 4 different things bonded to that carbon, then that carbon, depending on how those 4 things are arranged around that central carbon atom, it's going to behave differently. And so a great example of that is like thalidomide. Thalidomide was a drug used to treat morning sickness for a long time. And the right-handed molecule of thalidomide, meaning that the 4 things around that central carbon atom in one particular configuration, the right-handed molecule treated morning sickness. The left-handed molecule caused birth defects. And so you can look up thalidomide babies. There's still people around today that were born without arms or some shit like that because their parents took this very common drug. And then we had to learn that you need to, what actually was, you want some fun terminology here, they needed to resolve the race mixture to form a homochiral solution. And I love those words. And so in this heterochiral state, it was really dangerous. And so what we know, like with amino acids to make life, they're all left-handed. And when we make amino acids from scratch in a jar, we get a race mixture. Some are left-handed, some are right-handed. We don't know how homochiral amino acids are made out in nature. We know how to do it in a lab, and we know how to do it in something that's already alive. Enzymatic reactions, precipitation, or dehydration, you can do it. But out in nature, we don't know. But what we do know is that when we find them in space, they're all fucking left-handed. And so something's happening that's causing that to go down. We just don't know. We don't have an abiotic mechanism for it yet. We don't know what's going on there. And so that's another criticism of the Urey-Miller experiment. Like, well, they made the wrong kind of amino acids. Okay, cool. Nature seems to not care, and you need to do it anyway. And so the whole thing is that if you could boil the origin of life down to like 10 theoretical steps, we've got steps like 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, and 10. And a lot of creationists are going to look at step 5 and say, well, you don't know this, so you don't know anything. And that's horseshit. We know a lot more today than we did 5 years ago. I remember a couple of years ago, the big thing was, okay, yeah, you can make amino acids, but you don't know how to make them into a protein. Well, yeah, now we do, because 2 years ago, there was a paper that came out that showed that peptides or amino acids form simple peptide chains on the surfaces of microdroplets of water using surface tension, just like you would find in ocean spray, which is in the tide pools where the leading models show that life probably got started. And same thing with we found all 5 nitrogenous bases that make up DNA and RNA, all the things that make up nucleic acid. We found them on asteroids. Well, you don't know how to make, to chain them together. Yeah, we do. This year, we found that you can make simple oligoribonucleotides just by using common minerals that are all over the fucking world. And they just do it. And you make a phosphodiester bond because there's sodium around. And who knows how that happened? The biochemists do. And so, we're learning more and more and more every day. And the same creationists who said we don't know shit about step 3 a couple of years ago, well, now we know step 3. And now they're like, well, you don't know step 5. And pretty soon we're going to be able to make life in a fucking jar. And they're going to say, aha, you can do that because God allows it. And it's going to be the same bullshit all the time.
Dr. Banjo. That's a Futurama
Dr.
reference.
Banjo. That's what, straight up. Exactly. You think things don't exist just because you believe in them. So saith the great creature in the sky.
That is some amazing information. I greatly appreciate it. Where would I possibly go to look up some of these pictures? Oh, no worries. I would. What would be some good keywords to find some of those new papers and stuff like that that expanded on that Miller-Urey experiment?
Flip, dude. You can look up. So a couple of things you can do. Number one is the NASA Astrobiology Primer, which I always encourage everybody to check out. Here, I'm going to put a link to that in the chat.
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about that one all the time.
Yeah, dude, that one's awesome. And then I would also look up. Go to scholar.google. Let's see here. Oligoribonucleotide synthesis, minerals. Mineral-mediated oligoribonucleotide condensation, broadening the scope of prebiotic possibilities on the early Earth. This is a paper that came out last year. I'll flip, dude. Here's a link to it. Let me see if I can get it. There we go. You can read that. Type that into. If you type, I don't know if that's the one about elongating nucleic acid chains. So this one, it looks like the link that I posed, I think that has access to the full paper, but if not, you can always go to Google Scholar, type that in, and you'll be able to find a PDF for free as well. Other one would be peptides, micro droplets, surface tension. Let's see if that pulls it up. Self-assembly mediated release of peptide nanoparticles through jets across microdroplet interfaces. I believe that's the one. That's from back in 2018. I don't know for sure if this is the paper that I'm thinking about, but I think that it is, and I'm putting it in the chat. So there's that. And if not, look it up. But yeah, those are just the ones that I mentioned. And like, if you start with the Astrobio primer, you'll find more and more and more.
Okay, heck yeah. Sorry, ADHD kicking. I can't believe that. All right. I greatly apologize. I just blanked.
Don't apologize. You're good, man.
So
ADHD too.
All right. So, but yeah. All right. So I'm not gonna play like I understood all the big words that you said and stuff like that, because I'm no dog.
If you pick one, I'll tell you what it is.
But I mean, no, I'm more than willing to go and look up definitions and stuff like that. Like this is a part of my journey. Like the amount, like you personally, you Forrest, as a science communicator, you've been amazing ever since I found you. You've done a lot of stuff for me, and I greatly appreciate everything you've done.
Thanks, and that really means a lot.
You actually, like, you brought the joy for wanting to learn science that I had as a little kid back, that kind of got beat out of me with religion. And like, it's just been an amazing journey so far. So like, I mean, very happy. Like, I'm willing to look up almost anything. No problem, man.
If you want to get a head start, look up, just get good at Latin and Greek prefixes. If you can do that, you can, like oligoribonucleotide sounds really fucking scary until you remember oligo means a small group of, like oligarchy. And then ribonucleotide is talking about ribonucleic acid, which is RNA. It's DNA with the extra oxygen attached to it. And so an oligoribonucleotide is a very short chain of RNA. That's it. And it sounds way crazier than it fucking is. And it isn't. It's really simple, and you can get into it. And so like there's a lot of things that if you just start recognizing, if you see the word cyto, it's talking about cell. If you see the word stome, it's talking about mouths. If you hear the word, you know what I mean? It's just you start getting. If you see the word tarot, it's PT. It's talking about wings, and you got to start picking up these things, and it gets easier and easier as you go along.
Okay. Yeah, like when studying Christ, like scientific names and stuff like. Oh, sorry. Am I here?
I thought you were dead. Yeah, I can hear you. I thought you died just then. No, I was warning you.
Not yet. But yeah, once again, I get the prefixes and suffixes and stuff like that. I've found a lot of that going, like back in the day. Like I used to be real big into ocean life and stuff, and like just reading scientific names and stuff like that. That doesn't necessarily correspond. Sorry, but
you're fine. No, it's true. It helps.
But yeah, I see where the prefixes and suffixes come in for sure. And that's pretty much about all I got. But there was one last thing that I wanted to kind of ask and get your opinion on, and see if you think there might be a niche for it in the atheist community, as far as on YouTube and stuff like that. And take in mind, it's with proper precautions, but I've been seriously thinking about starting a YouTube channel where I go around just taking random people's curses and going to haunted houses, sleeping in them, and just kind of vlogging and showing like the kind of BS that goes on, because that was another thing that was a big part of my religious side back in the day. Was, I mean, I was always real big into ghosts and ghost hunters and stuff like that. And I kind of, when I started deconverting, I went into everything about that. I mean, I learned how they faked it and stuff like that. And I was even one of the people back in the day that was sitting there messing with people with the Ouija board, playing with the planchette, making them think that it was real and stuff like that. And I kind of feel like I got to give back and let people know it was bullshit. But like I said, with like proper precautions and stuff like that. I mean, do you think there would be any kind of niche in there for that?
I cannot legally give you advice.
Oh, fair enough.
What do you think, Joseph?
Go ahead, Forrest. Okay. There's a
As far
similar
as like
show.
just interesting.
What is that show where the
Okay.
two guys?
Oh yeah, I didn't even know there was a similar show.
Yeah, BuzzFeed Unsolved. They do something very similar. It's very funny. One of the guys is a total skeptic.
Okay.
One of the guys really buys into it. It's super entertaining. I cannot legally give you advice either. Probably, I don't know.
Fair enough.
But it's funny, and if you do it well, people will watch it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of them. I know Danny Gonzalez did a video a little while ago about he went to I think it was like the hotel from The Shining or something like that, and he showed like this Discovery Channel ghost hunter show that was like, look, we found this barn, and in this barn there's all these mattresses, and this, every one of the they pull, every time somebody dies, they pull the mattress and they put it in here. All these mattresses are people who have died. And Danny went there and was like, what's with the mattresses? And they're like, they're fucking old mattresses. Somebody pissed on them, we got rid of it, and we got a new mattress in there. It's just our shitty old mattresses. It doesn't mean anything. And like, we had this guy in here who's a big fucking ghost hunter guy. So Tony went by and banged on the wall in the middle of the night, and they made great content. It was awesome. And like, that shit happens all the time. So yeah, things like that. Watch it. Sure. I'd watch it. Somebody else would watch it.
Cool. Do they go into like the?
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
I can't. I
don't know.
lost the.
I don't watch these channels.
Oh, no, I was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I know. I was just. What was it? No, like the one that you're referring me to. I was wondering if they actually went through and like explained the concept of priming to make people feel this stuff and things like that. Because that was like that's
probably not. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't watch a lot of these things. I happen to know some of them off the top of my head. But like, yeah, everybody, like, I'm not the only fucking science and atheism YouTuber out there.
Yeah.
I just put my own spin on it. So if you have a good idea, go chase it.
Fair
Put your
enough.
own spin on it. See what happens. Worst case scenario, you're exactly where you are and nobody gives a fuck. Best case scenario, something really cool happens and you make people happy. You know? Best case scenario, you make people happy.
Heck yeah.
Anyway, Jason, thanks so much for calling in, man.
Right.
I really appreciate it.
No problem. Y'all be safe, and I really appreciate y'all talking to me.
All right, take care, man. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
What a nice dude. And to the person who called in and hung up early asking why we have taste buds in our rectums, we actually aren't entirely sure. There's a lot of hypotheses about that. It's possibly just to like, be aware of like illness and things. But you also, if you have one, you also have taste buds on your scrotum. They don't do what you think they do. Taste bud doesn't necessarily mean taste. It's a detection. It's just a form of chemoreception. You have chemoreceptors all over your body, and they do all sorts of horrible things. Don't even get me started. Fucking chemoreceptors. With that, we got super chats to get to, and I'm excited about it because I feel like most of this show has been me rambling, and you just sitting there, patient and handsome, listening to me fucking ramble. I want to hear about your background. I want to hear about your life. I want to hear about your story. I want to get your opinions on things. Send in super chats, $2 or more. That ask Jesse really personal questions.
Just
really personal,
$5,
detailed, painful. $5 or more. Sorry, I don't know if the audience heard that, but I heard in my ear the producer say $5 or more. Insert Jesse Payne coin, and Jesse will dump trauma on you and reveal
so weird.
painful things about his childhood that he doesn't want to talk. I don't know. But we've got you have two deeply weird people hosting today, so I'm excited to see what we can come up with. Starting with $10 from Ryan P. Great show today, gents. Thank you so much. Looking forward to your big collab, Jesse. We worked on a film together years ago, Mount Molehill. It's great to see you on the line. Hope to see you at FanFest this year. Oh my glob.
Mount Molehill was awesome. It's available online. I think you can watch it on Vivo. It's one of my proudest works as an actor. I had to speak a lot of French.
Is that the one where you're the dashing French man?
It's the one. Well, I'm dashing no matter what I'm playing, Mr. Forrest. But no, I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm a French guy, and there's a bear in it. Ryan, I'll tell you this is going to be disappointing to you. I mainly took that gig because there was a bear in it, and I wanted to play with the bear, and I would have to have flown myself to Montana to play with that bear, so I didn't. But it's still a beautiful film, and I didn't get to play with the bear.
Oh, I remember looking that when you and I were first talking about your acting and whatnot. I remember looking that one up, and I didn't watch the whole thing. I'm sorry to say, but I did look at the scene that you were in. I looked at a couple of the scenes that you were in, and I saw you point at that girl and be like, "Molehill, mountain, a montagna," and like it was great.
It's true.
$5 from Jason Jones. Hey, Forrest and Jesse at FUV. Like you, I live in OK, so I wanted to ask, what's your favorite local critter? I think we should bring back the wild elephant. Yo, we got some good fucking skinks here in Oklahoma. You want to talk about skinks? And we got great skinks, and we got black rat snakes all over the place out here. And if you find them when they're young, they've got they're red in between their scales, and they look real reticulated and beautiful. And when they move, it's like this black and red mosaic bouncing around. I just poked my microphone there. And they're feisty little guys. And because they're rat snakes, they talk a big game, but they're never going to hurt you. But they'll make you think they're big and scary. They'll get all hyphy. They rattle their tails into dry leaves to sound like a rattlesnake. They'll strike and hiss and everything, and you just go over to them, just squish them, and you pick them up and do stuff with them. I had one a buddy of mine came over. I'd caught one, and he just kind of poked it, and it just started swallowing his finger. Just started eating them alive. They're great. Yeah, rat snakes and skinks are my favorite local critters, I think, if I had to pick some. $4.99 from Julius Skaya or Scala. Scalala. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Blank. I don't it's something. Is it
emoji?
Probably an emoji. So what? Yeah, so what body do trans and people come from? I think the order of this got fucked up because of the emojis. But if men are from Mars and women are from Venus, then trans men are from Mars and trans women are from Venus. Because trans men are men and trans women are women, y'all. Yeah. I'm not trying to isolate peeps. How dare you try to trap me with your adorable thought experiment. And your probably very well-intentioned children's rhyme. $10 from Empress Lizard. I just want to hear the next super chat answered ASMR style. You want to do that, or you want me to do it?
Yeah. No, I'll get weird with that. How am I coming through? How's my audio?
Okay. It's doing way better. It's doing way better. But get up in that microphone. I need you to fillet that microphone.
Forrest, tell us about a weird biological fact. Oh no.
A weird biological fact that you should know. Hold on, I'm going to turn this up. A weird biological fact that you should know is that ASMR stands for autonomic sensory meridian response, and meridian response is sort of a biological euphemism for orgasm. So ASMR is a funny neuroscience way of saying braingasm is what that is. Also,
God, I hate that.
Take that home with you.
I did.
My phone alarm went off at the meantime. Yeah.
Good. That was me calling you asking you to stop
it. Please make it end. We've got $10 from Don't Follow Doug. Seriously, don't do it. Forrest, what do you know about fetal stem cells staying in different parts of their mother's body long after birth? It's like something you would talk about. Yeah. So that actually is a thing. It's one of the causes. So when we talk about genetic mosaicism, we're talking about different cells in the same body with different genetic makeups. And that is unbelievably common if you have ever been pregnant or been born. Stem cells are passed through the placenta back and forth all the time. And so if you have ever been pregnant, very likely some of the cells, not a huge amount, but some of the cells in some of your organs have your child's DNA. And vice versa. If you have ever been born before, then it's entirely possible, if not a little bit likely, that some of the cells in some of your organs have your mother's DNA completely, and are not your genetic makeup at all. That's a thing that can happen all the time. And I don't remember like the actual frequency of it, because I remember one lecture in my undergrad when it was like, this happens all the fucking time forever, and if it's just guaranteed. And I remember another lecture in my undergrad where it's like, these things can happen. And so like I never actually followed up and did my due diligence of checking how much it happens, but it absolutely does happen. So yeah, that's a cool thing that you can know about you, is that if you've ever had a human living in you, you probably still have a little bit of their DNA just creeping around, and like one of your liver cells is that person's liver cell. That's what another with the objes, $4.99 from Julius Scala. Did Noah have to get 2 chupacabras, 2 Bigfoots, 2 Yetis, a werewolf, a vampire to make the story work? How is this not a movie? Dude, I would watch that. I would watch that film about Noah fucking trying to wrangle up some chupacabras. Chupacabra?
He had to get 2 fabulas on there as well.
2 fabulous? Jesse Jerdak with the callbacks, everybody. Bring them hard. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. # Forrest for Antichrist. I'm behind Valkai as Dark Lord. Certainly his interest in weak children lends theory credence. Love seeing Jesse back. I also love seeing Jesse back. And Jesse's back. And Jesse has your back, from what I hear.
Typically. Unless you're an asshole, then I don't.
The first of all, I would make a great Antichrist, if we're being honest. Like, if anybody's going to do the job, I want to know where to send in a resume. And second of all, is that like just this person, Monkey at Typewriter, has made fun of me consistently ever since I told him to dissect his child. And I want to just point out that like your lack of curiosity isn't my problem. And if you're going to come at me and tell me that I'm the weirdo here, I think that you need to ask more questions, and I think that you should be more interested in science. And if we have different opinions, fine. You like chocolate, I like vanilla. I'll dissect a kid, you won't. Don't rub my nose in it. It's just people are different, is all. $10 from PhD Coney. Geochronology trivia. The oldest material ever dated is 7 billion years old. Interstellar dust embedded in a meteorite. Fucking yo. I didn't know that. I know that like we do use like extraterrestrial material, like asteroids and whatnot. We can use dating of those materials in order to understand a lot more about like the age of the Earth, because like we're not going to drill down to the core of a continent to try to figure out where that's coming from. But like 7 billion years old from fucking interstellar dust. That's pretty flippin' tight, dude. That's like the fucking half-life of like vanadium and shit. Like, that's deep. That's in there.
That's almost as old as the Quran.
That's almost as old. Exactly. Yes, of course. And the line of people who all saw a man fuck a kid and fly off on a horse. $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. Bob is definitely a finalist for most arrogantly ignorant callers. A few more calls, he could have got his face carved into Mount Dunning-Kruger. I wish I would have let you have some time with that dude, because for me, I stopped caring about the call the second he started just laughing at everything we said. rather than addressing it. I was like, all right, this isn't going anywhere now. You know what I mean? But
see, that's when I think we had him. I think we had him when he starts giggling. Like that's a defense mechanism. He was on the ropes there.
Oh yeah, oh for sure. It's weird. I've been doing this for too long. If I'm not willing to dig into that anymore, I should have kept him there for 3 hours.
Don't chastise yourself. You're doing great.
F's in the chat for my career as I come upon my old age. We got $10 from Jeep Speed Racer. Forrest, read this, please. I'm doing it. In other news, the Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to... Oh, my God. In other news, the Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France. I think that's the way it should be said in those newscaster voice. I love your way of teaching. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Did you hear, speaking of prime ministers and shit, in this very funny, good-spirited thing, did you hear this deeply frustrating interview with Joe Biden and that dude from MSNBC? I forgot the interviewer's name, where he was talking about Gaza and Netanyahu, and Joe Biden, in literally the same breath, said, it's insane that they've killed over 30,000 people. They can't do that. I'm not going to stop giving them weapons. He said that in the same breath, literally the same. He was talking. He said this is an insane amount of death, and then literally immediately after that said, "I'm not going to ever stop giving them weapons." He said those words, and I just want to die. I just want to die. 5 euros or whatever from Old Man's Pain. Speaking of magical horses, can you talk about actual space miracles? Camels. Can't believe they're actually real with their silly juice humps. Y'all don't give fat enough credit, is what I'm saying. Fat's a versatile organ. You can do a lot of really cool things with it. And camels have made an inch. Yeah. It's a unique it's a unique tissue made of unique cells with its own vasculature and its own neurovasculature. It's got nerves as well. And it serves purposes. Fat functions as endocrine functions in your life. If you were a woman post-menopause, then like pretty much all your estrogen's coming from your fat cells. Your fat cells are making that for you. You've got all sorts of things, dude, that fat does. If you ever want to read more about it, I've recommended this book several times before. It's called The Secret Life of Fat by Dr. Sylvia Tara, and it's a fucking good read. Talks all about fat and what it does and how cool it is. It's an interesting thing, and you need it. Did you know, if you're an anatomical female, you will not be able to start menstruation without sufficient body fat percentage. There's a serious problem with people like ballerinas. They fucking can't start the period, and they're getting up like 15, 16 years old. They've never had a period yet because their body fat percentage is so low. Their body just shuts that shit down and won't allow it to happen because you're not fucking healthy enough. It's great. Fat does a lot of things for you. It's necessary for vital function. If you've ever cut a person up, you have a lot more fat to even like strong, like super fit bodybuilder types with like cut ass shit muscles, and they're like really toned and defined. There's a significant amount of subcutaneous fat in there, and you should be okay with that because it's good for you. Also, genetic differences and racial and ethnic differences and epigenetic differences and microbiomes, they're different. And all sorts of things go into fat deposition, and it's so fucking interesting. And not enough people are excited about it.
I'm excited about it. I'm curious. I'll talk to you later about it because I'm sure chat doesn't care that much, but the microbiome impacting fat content sounds amazing. I want to hear about it.
Oh, dude, I've got a whole story about rat shit that you're going to love. $4.99 from Lovebot. I love your crazy energy, Forrest. Lol, hearts. It's the emojis. I've learned so much from you and opened my eyes a lot. Beep, boop. What is going on with this fucking... I love all you other ACA homies too. Smiley face. I assume the smiley face is tongue-in-cheek, saying that they know that we're not on the ACA. But if not, fuck you. I was on the ACA yesterday. Those scrubs, they fucking had me on their show. Those very nice people. Damn them all. $5 more from PhD Tony. In some contexts, we use before present for time, except the present in that case is in the 1950s. Yeah, so I was talking about there's the different ones. There's the common era, there's before present, and yeah, there's like the modern era and other things like that. Like there's all sorts of weird things, dude. It's cool shit.
It's misinformation, motherfucker.
$10 from Ryan Hall. What? Oh, sorry, was this for you?
No, yeah, kind of. It's referencing when I talked about BC. Cavemen praying to a stone cross, like the Flintstones celebrating Christmas. LOL. I'm gonna say it. The Flintstones aren't funny.
They're not.
They're not.
They're not.
They're not. It's not a funny. It's just animal abuse and spousal neglect and
it's a living.
And
it's a living.
And it's a living.
Yeah, it's the same three jokes. And they sold cigarettes to kids. $5 from R.C. Deschene? Deschene? R.C. Deschene. Deschene? I'm into that, yeah. This person sent 5 of their hard-earned dollars to ask us. I'd push back on saying mythological terminology is science is misleading. No more misleading to most people than it's naming planets. That's fair. The issue that I have with it is that it can be a problem, especially talking about things like evolution and the age of the earth and shit like that. I have seen it be a problem. I've had creationists call me and say, there's mitochondrial Eve and there's Y chromosomal Adam. Therefore, there was a literal Adam and Eve, and science has proven it. And they even named it these things because they proved that real Adam and Eve existed. And they didn't understand what that meant. And so that, yeah, I think with naming the planets about like Roman gods, that's pretty benign nowadays. But if we had a planet named Jesus, I guarantee a lot of people will be out there saying, see, it's so important that we name the planet after it, and that's why it's prevalent in bandwagon fallacy and bleh. So like, yeah, I don't want to make it sound like it's the biggest fucking deal in the world. But like it has been an issue for me that I would point out. $9.99 from Mustard Jar 3. The predecessor of Mustard Jar 4 and the successor of Mustard Jars 1 and 2. May they rest in peace. I wish someone would talk about me the way that Forrest talks about science. Good fucking luck. There's only one thing in the world that I love more than learning and teaching science, and she's on the other end of the house. So like, I don't know if you're ever going to find anybody who's as excitable about anything.
Devastating. I thought he was going to talk about me.
$4.99 from QA. Prions are scary. Yes, they fucking are. Have scientists made headway into prion diseases? Also, I'm 10 years out of uni, and I want to do science education. How and where do I start? Depends on what you went to university for. But there are science education programs, or you can just go back and get a random old science degree. My first degree was in science education, and then I was like, wait a minute, I actually want to know more than what just the science education degree. I want to actually have the backing to know the shit rather than just know how to explain the shit. And so I went back and got several science degrees. And that turned out to be great because it turns out I really fucking love just learning the shit. As far as prion disease are concerned, made headway in terms of like knowing more about them and how they work. Yes. Made headway in terms of curing them. No. Prion diseases are still 100% fatal, and they're still 100% fucking scary. So don't eat human brains, because Kuru is a problem. Hell yeah! $5 from Squid Super Hunk. Insert Jesse Payne coin.
Is that somebody like redeeming the painful fact?
Yeah, you have to tell us some painful. You don't actually have to. I was just joking, but I do want to learn more about you.
Here's a painful fact. Back in my religion period, when I was a music pastor, I decided to teach myself guitar to kind of accompany the music pastoral business, so I didn't have to rely as heavily upon my cohorts. And I decided to like do the thing that a boy with a lot of faith will do, and I decided to get up there and like after maybe one or two attempts to play the guitar, just decide that God was going to help me. And I got out there and I tried to lead worship with my guitar and all of the gumption in the world and no skills. And then I had to ask the rest of the band to come up and join me because I didn't know how to play guitar yet. And I just got up there and just did my best, and it didn't work out well. And now I'm an atheist, and it's all the guitar's fault.
Fantastic. Fantastic work. God, that is deeply painful. I'm so sorry about that.
It was excruciating. I was like, "Oh, I've got this. Come on, God, let's go. You and me, buddy." And he didn't show. He was late to band practice.
Damn. That would have convinced me. If it had worked, I would have changed. I would have converted. Because he had a great opportunity. Yeah. My God. Someone in the chat just put, and death metal was born. That's great. Enjoyed the show. Five yen from Kevin Moses. Enjoyed the show. I'm a former PhD and herpetology candidate that now teaches science in Japan. Hell yeah. Forrest is a great science communicator. Thank you so much. I can't wait to disappoint you. I don't think I'm going to go for a PhD myself because I want to go do more stuff. And so, like, I imagine for a lot of the same reasons that you are no longer a PhD candidate, just you got life to live, bro. Like, that's, yeah, that's where I'm at right now. It's a bad time.
You are a great science communicator.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I get real geeked up about the way things are. $10 from Na and I need some more info about these scrotal taste buds. I can't tell you much more than that they exist, Brew. We have found taste buds all throughout your GI tract and also your sex organs. They're all over the place. And like I said, taste buds, people don't put too much stock in the words. They're just chemoreceptors, and they tell you when something's bad for you. And so, like, the idea that your sack could lead you away from danger is an interesting evolutionary hypothesis. Yes, I don't like this situation. I can feel it in my balls. There's too much bitter here. There's something going on. It doesn't taste right. I don't know. The last I checked, there still aren't any solid answers.
I don't think that's ever stopped anybody, at least not in recent memory.
Yeah, I can tell you there are some times that my balls have led me into danger, not out of danger. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's often. Yeah, it's often a problem. I want to take a second while we're in the middle of super chats, and we still have people here, to just reiterate one more time. Jesse goddamn Jerdak and I made an amazing thing together, and you need to watch it. So please go subscribe to his channel while you can, because he's got some stuff coming out pretty soon that I'm really excited to see. I've got some stuff coming out with him in it that I'm really excited for you to see. I have been editing more than I've ever edited anything in my entire life for the past month, and I've still got a couple months of work left to do. But you are about to see some real magnificent shit, and it's because of this fucking gorgeous man right here. So
how tired of my stupid face are you, Forrest?
Not at all, bro. Dude, if we lived closer together, do you have any idea how often I'd be fucking kicking in your front door with a meatloaf and like talking about stuff?
No, I'd be making you eat my food too, man. I wish you lived next door. Maybe one of these days, but
one of these days. That's what you send $20 super chat. And let us know if you want to see a Jesse and Forrest mukbang where we eat way too much fast food and discuss politics and religion and maybe science and probably D&D. We could make that happen.
You will outperform me in the science discussion. I will eat you under the table, sir.
How dare you? Do you have any idea how much my stomach can distend? I'm like a ravenous animal.
I'm so big. These people don't know how big I am. It's unethical how large I am. Dude,
my metabolism is so fucking stupid. I guarantee if we eat for like an hour, I will have already digested whatever we started with, and it'll just be like a tube. It'll just be like a constant funnel through me, and I'll just be dumping fucking like sandwiches in one side and just like lift off on the other side. It'll be amazing. It'll be amazing. We can have that. That'll be the video. Yeah, exactly. Yes. As the mountain of shit behind me grows, everyone will want to see that. It'll be great. Sign up now. It'll be great. It's $10 from Woodingus Forrest. Always enjoy shows with you, Jesse. Great job, Jimmy.
Thank you, Bodingus.
Mahalia sent $5. Hello, gentlemen. Hello. What's the best class you took in school? Hashtag Jesse Coin. I've got some hiccups going on right now. Jesse Coin. What's the best class you took in school, and also a fun fact about yourself or something you're interested in, because that's what the coins are for.
Okay. Best class. I loved Metal Shop. I crushed at Metal Shop. I'm a maker. I like to make things with my hands. Forrest knows about it. He's editing things I've made. You'll see him later.
It's freaky.
Fine.
It's freaky.
Yeah, I like to take my hands and make little cute things and little functional things. And so Metal Shop was by far my favorite. Also, my first openly gay teacher, that was pretty cool. She was amazing. And one time when I was using the arc welder, one of the school bullies tied my shoes together, which was very dangerous. And I got mad about that, and I put him in the trash can, and my Metal Shop teacher thought that was hilarious. And so she became my favorite teacher ever.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't have a good, like, so I did bad in school, and then I went to college and I tried harder. So like the best class for me was in middle school band. I was there to play the clarinet. I could not play the clarinet if you had a gun to my head. Because
the Lord to help you.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I could start a band. Because we had this thing at my school called what was it? It was like, I think it was called eligibility. I don't remember. But basically, if you had an F in any class, you weren't allowed to participate in any extracurricular activities or any electives. You just weren't. And so you had to like get like your grades up. And I didn't. I got straight Fs from 6th grade through 10th grade until they sent me to the alternative academy where I did my last 2 years of school and got straight A's because there was no homework. You did all the class work in class. We had longer class periods. We had block scheduling. We had smaller classes. And your shitty home life didn't affect your schoolwork. And you had teachers who cared because you were one of the bad kids, and it was a specialized school that worked with bad kids. And we got to become good kids. And it was really fucking awesome. So I was this bad kid in 6th through 8th grade. At the time, and I took band knowing that I would not be able to participate. And I also took it because the band teacher came up to me and said, "Don't take band. I don't want you in my class." So I signed up that day. And because I was not allowed to participate and they couldn't legally remove me from the class, I got to sit in the back of the room with the rest of the bad kids and play poker all fucking day, every day for years. And it was awesome. And so fuck the way we do public education, except for alternative high schools, which are great, is that story. Broken Arrow Alternative Academy. At the end of that, they made sure to tell us, hey, you can put on a resume that you graduated from the high school because technically this is a high school. And you can just say Broken Arrow High School and nobody's going to ask questions. I never fucking have. Broken Arrow Alternative Academy. Fucking love, man. Love it. $5 from SJL. That below me is not JL, but this person over here is JL. A pine tree broke and hit my house today. No damage. It's a miracle. Do I need to start a new religion now? Just be careful with pine trees as a symbol, because that's what Nazis use sometimes. But try it. $10 from Steve Koroski. I want to put more lilt in that than I believe it probably is. It's probably just like Kursky or something. But a Koroski, we'll put a little something in there. You know what I mean? It's I want to talk like my grandpa. Like, oh yes, Stephen Koroski, yes. Apparently, my grandfather was fucking Putin. Hey, Forrest, earlier today I saw your explanation of sheer mass of glaciers raising Florida from the depths of the ocean. I had no idea and love learning things like that. I appreciate you. Thanks so much for listening. For those of you who don't know, yeah, the during the Pleistocene, the last ice age at the last glacial maximum, the weight of the glaciers up on the northern side of North America, number one, created the Great Lakes, carved out the Great Lakes and then melted and filled them in. But also, number two, it turned the entire fucking continent into a teeter-totter, and it pulled Florida up. And that's where we get Florida from. So next time you fucking hear, I think this is the exact same thing that I said yesterday. Next time you hear about somebody who fucking strapped a jet engine to a jet ski in order to launch it off of some aluminum siding and to disrupt his cousin's wedding at the dogfighting ring next door. That's because the Ice Age happened. That's the age of the mammoths made that occur. You look like you're processing.
No, it's. I was just thinking, like, of all the things that the Ice Age could have been responsible for, it's just like a guy in like overalls and nothing else, just beating a sheep with a hose and showing up on the news for it. You know, like.
Yep. Exactly.
Stupid glaciers.
I just saw what you put at this man below me. $4.99 from seven Lions. Anytime you see OBJ in a super chat, it's an emoji or other special character that isn't being displayed correctly. And then they said C, but it came through. So I think you're lying to me.
I
feel bamboozled. I feel like we've been had. I feel like you're doing some shady shit here. $5 for Squid Super Hunk. Okay, please tell the rat shit story, Jesse. So
let's hear it, buddy.
You've got a microbiome, as I've heard you point out several times. You've got microbiota. You've got bacteria, fungi, things living on and in your body, and they do really important jobs. So, for example, you can't digest cellulose, which is the thing that makes the cell walls of plants. So when you eat a salad, the bacteria in your gut eat it again. And then what they shit out is what you actually absorb as nutrients. Super duper cool stuff. And so when what's really cool is that it turns out a lot about like the amount of nutrition that you're able to get from food, and there by extension the amount of fat deposition you get in your body from the food that you eat has a lot to do with your microbiome. And so there are some really cool studies done on rats where they would have these rats that were born in like completely sterile conditions. So they didn't have a microbiome at all. They didn't have any internal bacteria. And they would feed these rats, they'd live, but they were like really fucking emaciated and skinny because they couldn't extract enough nutrients from the food that they were eating. They only had the enzymes that they had in their body to do it. And so they were not extracting a lot of nutrients from the food. They were starving, they were hungry, they were bad. And so they did fecal transplants. They took shit from different rats that were raised in normal conditions and put them up the butts of the rats that were sterilized in order to contaminate them with the gut bacteria of different rats. And what they found, number one, not only were they able to then start processing food properly, but they would also take on the phenotype, or not the entire phenotype, but like as far as like body fat and whatnot, they would take on the characteristics of the mice or the rats from whom they got the poop from. So if you took a svelte, athletic rat and put its poop in the sterile rat, it would become svelte and athletic. And if you took an obese rat and put its poop in there, it would become another obese rat. And indeed, we have tried this also with humans, and there's a lot of really cool actual clinical applications of fecal transplants in humans. If you have a gut microbiome that is bad for your health, you can get the poop of a healthy person and go to a fucking doctor for it, and they can implant it in you. Either way, and you can replenish your gut biome and repopulate it with better bacteria, better microflora, and you can actually change your body around. Now, it's not as cut and dry as it sounds. If you have a problem with body weight or whatever like that, you can't just go get the spice melange and try something new. But there are some really cool, promising studies, and I believe they've been doing human trials for a while now, and results are promising. So poop might be the future for nutrition, for weight management, for bodybuilding, for sports and athletics, and all sorts of other things.
Forrest, you're a lean guy. You're one of those guys that just probably doesn't put on a lot of weight very easily. I constantly struggle with that. So next time we hang out, I'm going to stand on my head and I'm going to need you to poop in my butt.
I'm here for you, my friend.
As a friend.
I'm always going to be here for you. That's what though. That's what friends are for. That's what friends are for, and I will be here for you, and I'll poop in your butt anytime you ever need me to, man.
You're the best. I appreciate you so much.
I know you do the same for me. I know you do the same for me.
Yeah, if you ever need like a thicker beard or like just some like 8 inches of height, I will poop in your butt.
You know what though? I would take the beard because I was really sick and I didn't shave, and now I'm just like a scruffy nightmare, and I just kind of left it. And then this fucking guy here, Private Parts LXX, sent $5 goddamn to say, pour some milk and a cat will sort out that bum fluff on your face. Fucking, I just look like I'm a boy. I'm just a little boy. I'm a child, dude. I don't know what you want from me. I'm just a wee bab of a mere 31. And I can't look like anything else but a scrappy little guy. I don't know how to do it. I want so badly to be a big, strong man with a beard that drinks Bud something. I want to drink beer, and I want to have a beard, and I want to be a big American man, and I can't, because beer tastes like a rat's asshole, and my face looks like this. I don't know what to do.
You have a beautiful face, and I think you're going to live forever because you're aging more slowly than anyone ever has. So the world needs you in the future. The future needs Forrest Valkai, and I'm glad you can't grow a beard because in my mind that means you're going to live forever.
I don't do drugs and I don't have kids, and therefore I will look like I'm 25 for the rest of my life. No, I think I don't know. People tend to be surprised when I say I'm 31, but I don't think I look that much younger. I think it's like maybe they're like, okay, at 29 or something. Like that's fine. I can take that. I just don't want to. I don't know. I don't want to look too far in the other.
I would put you in late 20s. Sorry, $5.
Oh no, you're fine. No, I was good. I'm okay with it. $5 from Mahalialaga. Just because they do not get enough love. What are your fun facts you both love about snails? You're right. They don't get enough love.
They don't get enough love, but you know how they do get enough love is they will pierce each other's bodies with their genitals to reproduce at times. I don't know if that is a globally accepted thing about snails, but I know that on occasion a snail will just spear another snail with a genital and make more little snails.
Yep.
That's probably my favorite snail fact, other than they're kind of delicious if cooked properly.
Fucking yeah. So I'm going to show you. Hold on a second. Why do I have it so far down on here? There it is. So this is. I'm going to put this. God damn you! There. I'm going to put it there, and I'm going to pull up my OBS, and I'm going to move OBS over there, and I'm going to click on that and that. Look at that. That's a volcano snail, y'all. Volcano snails live around like deep sea volcanoes and shit, and they incorporate iron into their shells. They also I think they're called like a scaly foot snail, or so. Yeah, scaly foot snails. But yeah, these guys live at temperatures that would normally kill any other fucking living thing except for like an extremophile, and they have goddamn iron shells, and they're just super fucking cool. And they're really interesting. And if you're interested, you can go to. Oh wait, hold on a second. Look at all my fucking. I have 1,000 things open. Look at this. I sell. I'm proud of snails T-shirt on my merch store, so you can go check that out if you want. Proud of snails, guys. There we go. I'm gonna put that in the chat. There you go. Buy a shirt, and they also come in hoodies. Be proud of snails. $5 from Travis Walcott. On an empire of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Adam dissects a kid. He just wanted to see how the kid worked. I've never seen that show, but awesome.
I think Adam was like a Frankenstein guy. I don't remember. Like
right on.
Frankenstein soldier.
$5 more from Slackback. I'm sure your back is quite firm. I need help with my homework. How did carpenter bees evolve? And more importantly, where can I find more about this? Thanks. What you're going to do is you're going to go in here and you pull up this and you go to scholar.google.gov.com and you look up carpenter bees evolution. Phylogeny of the carpenter bees here. Highlights repeated. You got that. Mating behavior and morphology here. You got multiple origins of sexual dichromatism. That's interesting. Large carpenter bees. And when you find one you like, click on that there. There's a little PDF guy. And bam, you get the paper. And if you don't see a PDF thing, like say, for example, this guy, you can go down here where it says, you can either click on it and maybe you'll get to see the whole thing. It looks like you can see the whole thing here. But also you can click on this where it says all 2 versions. And sometimes that'll have a PDF in there as well. So like if I go in here, this one I know has a PDF. You can go in here and see here's all these different versions of it. And you just find the one that's free. And not all of them are going to be free, but a lot of the times they are. And that's how you learn more. And that's how you do your homework, is you go to Google Scholar and you look up what you want to look up. And you won't always find the answers, but sometimes you will, and that's pretty cool. Q&A! Oh no, $5. Oh no, I was hoping there was progress treating Prion things. Scared emoji. I was a biomed engineer. Life happened, so I stopped, but I love talking sci. Yeah, last I checked, we got jack shit on prions. And what I think is fucking, we should be investigating more into chaperone proteins. Chaperone proteins. I think that would be really cool. Because protein chaperones, they are proteins that help structure other proteins properly. Because the whole thing about prions is that it's just a protein that got folded wrong. And then it goes around and starts folding other proteins wrong, and your protein structure of whatever it is falls apart, and you die weirdly. But like, how fucking cool would it be to just design? We could use like molecular biology and biomedical engineering to structure better chaperone proteins that you can then use like a vaccine to treat prion disease. There's somebody out there who's significantly smarter than I am who is screaming at their computer right now saying that's not how that fucking works. And I want to talk to that person because that's just what I'm thinking in off the top of my dome. But the fact that nobody's done that yet means that it's probably much harder than I think it is. So I don't know. I just think it's neat. You look like you were about to say something. I was going to leave you.
Oh, this is a stupid thing. It's a stupid thing I say sometimes, but sometimes when I genuinely don't like somebody, I will threaten to eat them. And then one of my fans or followers is always like, "No, don't do that because of prions." And I'm like, I wasn't actually going to eat that person. I was but I will make the threat. I will eat you.
The thing is, you just avoid the brain is the main thing.
Oh, I can eat the rest of them?
I mean, you probably, yeah. The brain's the most dangerous part for that.
I've been given the legal advice that I can eat people from Forrest Valkai.
Yeah. Well, you have other one like mad cow disease. You get that from cow brains. Chronic wasting disease. You get that from deer brains. You get all these different things. And like that, I think chronic wasting disease you can also get from meat as well. Pretty sure. I don't remember. But like there's a lot of things. It come down to the dangers of eating brains. But like, yeah, just don't eat a human brain. There's plenty of people that have gotten away with eating humans and not gotten a fucking guru. You just don't eat certain parts of it.
So many people that have cut me off from traffic are going to start just randomly disappearing now. And I'm going to become even more powerful.
You should fucking absorb their might. $4.99 from Newbert Newman. Forrest, in your Gramps interviews, when he said, I just want to see steps 2, step 3, step 4, I was literally screaming, thank you for that, lol. Also, go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Yeah, I let a lot, man. I really, I didn't want to be a dick at the beginning of that interview. I talked to you about this. Is that, I didn't want to be an asshole, but, when I gave the kind of preamble to the video, and I was like, you're going to see me let a lot of things slide and not say a lot of things, and, I can't express just how much, shit I wanted to jump on. I was like, just let him talk, because, I've said so many times in so many videos that when you're used to thinking in terms of dogma, you really struggle thinking in terms of science. And the more clear it became that is exactly what he was demonstrating, I was like, this is better content than just me talking to him. People are going to learn more by seeing him act this way than they would ever learn from hearing me try to actually explain this. And so I don't want to sit here and act like, oh, I'm so smart, I knew what was going to happen the whole time. Just as that was going on, I was more and more thinking like I've got to just let him fucking go. Anyway, yeah, that interview went well.
I think you crushed
Exactly
that one, man.
how-
I was so proud of how you handled that, and
Thanks.
no one could have made your points better than him.
That is precisely how I felt. Like I could not have, if I had asked him to act that way, it wouldn't have been nearly as effective as just him being himself and demonstrating exactly what we were trying to drive at. That like you have decided you don't like this thing, regardless of how much you know about it, and here we are. Same thing with Bob. The call with Bob. Yeah. Fucking like, I don't know what evolution is about the beginning of the earth. Oh no, that's the Big Bang. It's fucking neither. And why are there still monkeys? Like that is so fucking basic. And then you're gonna sit here and say, well, this doesn't make any sense. It can't be true. And clearly the Quran is true. Like, fuck, dude. I don't know what to do with that.
Self-confidence to do that. Can you imagine being so confident that you're like, I don't know what this is, so it's not real?
Exactly. Like that blows my fucking mind to shit, man. Like, just be more curious. Be more curious, Bob. $5 a monkey at typewriter. Hey, Jesse, you talk about toxic masculinity a lot. I got a heaping dose of that as a kid, and now I'm raising my son. Any thoughts on raising boys?
Yeah, I got thoughts. I got a little boy. I love him a lot. He's the sweetest person. You've met him, Forrest. He was super nervous to meet Forrest. It was really cute. He's just
and I've yet to dissect him.
Yeah, he. I gave him plenty of opportunities. I left him alone with Forrest for like 10 minutes. No dissections occurred.
And I actually had my dissection tools in the room at that time. Fun fact, that is a coincidence. It's just a coincidence, but it is a true coincidence.
One of the things I tell my son, because like I'm a product of kind of the mid to late 80s. So like Arnold Schwarzenegger was like the pinnacle of masculinity. And I mean, he was a big tough guy, but as far as like healthy masculinity, I don't think he was ever able to portray that because it wasn't written into the plot for him. But I do tell my son, one of the things that I'm so proud of him for is how kind he is. And I think that has shaped who he is becoming. He's 10 now. And he's probably of average build. I am not. I'm a giganto. And so my wife is a great stepmom, and she's like, don't overemphasize physicality, because ultimately in this culture it doesn't matter that much anyway, and I can attest to that. But I encourage him to be curious, and I congratulate him when he is kind, and I think those two things have helped shape him into just an amazing, sweet, young, awkward, nerdy boy. And I think encouraging kindness and empathy are probably the two most important things we can do for our sons. That's just my 2 cents, though.
Right on. You're always more succinct than I am, and I envy that about you. You have a good economy of words, whereas I am a long-winded rambler.
I like that about you. You just have a lot of knowledge.
Oh, that's very kind. $20 from Whiskey Spirit Guide. If Jesse hasn't seen it yet, you should show him the huge squishy D20. I have it right here.
What?
I believe, yeah, this guy, so I was on a show, I believe it was On the Line, and somebody asked, I think, so I believe it was this person, Whiskey Spirit Guide. He and his partner, I believe, own a dice-making company. And I was on a show On the Line, and they asked what kind of dice I would like if I wanted anything. And we were working on Roll for Initiative behind the scenes. I didn't want to spoil anything. And so I said, like, I'm trying to make this character who's like a necromancer, and he's like, it's real into like blood magic, but he's like a nice guy, but it's real weird and it's real creepy. And so like, I really want something that looks like spilled blood and smoke, if that makes any sense. Or I forgot how I phrased it, but like they made me this giant squishy D20 that's all black and red swirly for Victor, and I love it. And they don't know. Yeah, by the way, the name of the character is Victor, and you'll learn about him if you subscribe to my channel and watch the videos that are going to come out. This thing is the big old squishy guy. I use it as a stress ball sometimes, and the rest of the time I keep it sitting up here on my shelf of many things. And then also, you won't know this yet, but this is the character that you made that dice for. This is my guy. Look at him. Isn't he great? You got a little big creature here. He's wonderful. Jesse Jerdak made that, everybody.
This right here is a giant squishy red D20 as well. It was sent to me by the D&D people. It's like this big.
Nice. I love that.
It's fun.
If I can find a way to make a character that uses prions as magic, that'd be pretty tight.
Be terrifying.
$20. It'd be freaking crazy. $20 from Allison the Animal. Forrest, have you read Assassination Classroom? I have not. It's about kids that do terribly at school, but their teacher is really nice to them. But they have to kill him because he's an alien that's going to destroy the world. That sounds awesome. I don't usually read such things. I have very little time to read fiction. But it sounds cool. I'd be into it. I have not read it, but it sounds interesting. $5 a monkey typewriter. Also, Forrest, I'll have you know that I did try dissecting the boy. Turns out really deep sleep isn't a substitute for anesthesia. Hashtag time for the wizard beard. I want one real bad. I want a big old wizard beard. You know what I mean? Did I ever tell you about that? That's how I knew I was going to marry Amber. It was years before I proposed, but like I forgot what we were talking about, but at one point I mentioned, I was like, babe, someday I'm going to have like a big old fucking crazy wizard beard. I'm just going to grow out forever. I'm going to be a fucking wizard. It's going to be awesome. And she didn't even like blink. She's like, I know. Of course it's you. Of course she's a queen. I know you.
She's the best.
And I was like, yeah, this is the one. This is the one. I had so many.
It wouldn't be overly full. You could just have like a long kind of stringy one.
Just a horrible fucking gross, like a pube beard that just goes down. It's yeah. Yeah. So we'll get there someday. Right now, I'm just enjoying it for what it is, and I'll shave it off and be back to normal. But right now, like I can. Can you hear it? Can you hear the scruff scratchings? Because it's fun for me. You can't. It's okay. It's okay. But I liked it. And then we got another $10 super chat there for us. I think the real issue is that Monkey at Typewriter did dissect his child, but learned nothing from it. His failure has become your torment. I love that shit, dude. With that, it's been a really nice show. Please go subscribe to Jesse Jerdak's channel. Please go subscribe to my channel as well, if you can. And be ready for some awesome shit. And if you like what we've produced and you like what we put out, then fucking share it with everybody. But I'm giving you, this is going to come out in June, y'all. It is March at this moment. So you got April and May and then the beginning of June, and you'll start seeing some really, really, really cool stuff. But I want you to be up to date on everything else. So follow both of us and be ready for this, because I usually don't self-promote this much on a show, but I'm so goddamn proud of this. And we both worked so hard. Like Jesse and I both put our entire pusses into this fucking project, man. And like, it's so cool, and you're going to love it. I really think you're going to enjoy it. It's so visually striking and dramatic. And it's like, there's a lot of funny, but there's also a lot of like serious, and there's a lot of sad, and there's a lot of just an emotional roller coaster with beautiful visuals, and it's interesting and it's fun, and you'll probably get like a promo code out of it where you can play the game we're playing. Like there's so much shit to see, and I'm really excited about it. So with that, Jesse, do you have anything else you want to sign us off with? Anything you want to wrap up with?
Yeah, I just want to reinforce, like, I worked you'll see that my most recent YouTube video was 5 months ago, and that's because 5 months ago I started working on this project and had no free time to do anything else. Yeah. And so, like, half a year of my life went into this, so I do hope you watch it. I do hope you love it. We're calling it Roll for Initiative. We can say that. We know what it's called.
Yeah, we can say that. That's what it is. That's what the thing was. Yeah.
We're telling stories, and we're making cool visuals, and we're going to try and help a lot of people by supporting Doctors Without Borders. And yeah, that's what I've got for us. A new video from Jesse Jerdak coming this week. It's about recycling.
Hey,
being a nerd.
Right. I'm going to watch that shit. That sounds great.
Don't. You're not
anyway,
allowed.
With that, everybody else watch it and tell me how it is. With that, I'm going to go away now, so I can get back to editing. Oh, fuck. It just starts. It's so loud. It's always so loud. Editing Forrest. for the rest of the night. I'm giving a presentation over epigenetic inheritance in plants tomorrow morning. So you won't see that. Bye.